And we're live. It is Wednesday evening, coming to you live from my basement, Joe's basement, John's house.
Upstairs.
Someone's got their computer going there. There's an echo. No, it's better. There we go. Daryl, Joe, and Music Talk with John is our special guest this evening. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Joe, Daryl, welcome, gentlemen, as usual.
You as well. Thank you.
And I have an extra special guest here.
I see
This is
that.
Parker. This is my son. He's going to join us for a little bit. But I told him when it's bedtime, he's got to go to bed because there's people watching, so they'll know it's time for him to go
That's
to
right.
bed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You should wear that Darth Vader helmet the whole time. That'd be cool.
Well, we got one sitting right here. So
Yeah, I know. Sit
don't
back
give
there.
him don't give him any ideas. You're tearing my desk apart in no time. So. How are you guys doing? Everything good? Everything
Everything okay? Just say it.
Right. John survived the hurricane, so that's good.
Yeah.
And we don't have any hurricanes where we are, so the rest of us. But other than that, everyone have a good week so far?
Good
Yeah,
week.
yeah, it's been good so far. Day off today. Actually took the day off today. I know I'm retired, kind of, but I actually didn't do much of anything today, so it was good.
Those are the best days.
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Really good.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with really good. I'll take it.
Anything new and exciting? How's things going at the store? Is it busy, steady?
Yeah, you know what? It's steady. I'm not expecting 10, 20 people in every day. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But we get people at least one or two in a day. And almost everybody that comes in buys one thing. And whether it's a $5 album or a $50 album, they buy one thing. So it's good. We're trying to help support some things in the community as well. There's a vinyl night that a local brewery puts on. So we give some gift certificates out to that to give away because they invite people to bring their albums down and they put their albums on and everybody votes on best side and things like that. There's a radio station in town that we've been sponsoring Turntable Tuesdays for as well. And we've got, we're trying to get out there and give back a little bit. So when we can anyway, as much as we can. And yeah, it's been steady. Can always be busier, but I'm happy with everything so far. So it's been good. I need a new collection though. I haven't bought a collection for a while. I'm getting antsy. I need to find a big collection or even a medium collection of some sort.
You need some records to clean, something to fill your time.
Yeah, I do, exactly. It really is. Like I quit smoking 3 years ago, quit drugs a long time ago, drinking a long time ago. It's my vice right now is buying records and finding records, and whether that's one at a time or 1,000 at a time, the 1,000 at a time is more like a going out and getting hammered night. The one at a time is having a beer at home kind of a night. So I haven't had a night out for a little while, and I'm looking forward to one. So we'll see.
Nice. Is the consensus on a vinyl that it's been a worthwhile experience thus far? Like, is it making any money or breaking even or?
We're getting close to. I think we've made back what we've spent in the albums that we bought, and I had a bunch that I brought with me as well that obviously didn't necessarily cost us anything. They cost me stuff, but anyway. But there was the other cost of buying the bins and things like that still has to be recouped. But there has definitely been new people into the store that weren't in before. We've sold a couple of turntables. We've sold a couple of amplifiers because people are coming in. We started dealing with Ortophon, so I'm changing out cartridges and doing things like that. That's something that wasn't happening before. So yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it was never necessarily going to be a huge money making venture. Right. We've made a bit, or we will make a bit in the long run, but again, it was to get people in and the lights were already on, the heat was already on, there was some space in the store, and there was a guy that liked playing with records. So what are you gonna do? So
well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad.
So far.
Right on. What's new with you, John, other than survive the hurricane?
Yeah, Oh no, I did that video. That's the most recent thing I
Yep.
did. I went out and got stupid and bought about 5 albums today. And then
That's not stupid. That's
not
smart.
stupid. Yeah.
well, not when you're trying to like downsize your collection, you know.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I've got a whole, I'm doing pretty good. I have a whole stack here that's going to go. Stuff I'm like, it plays really crappy and I'm not that interested in. It's just stuff I bought in the beginning of the collection or was excited just to have it. So I'm getting rid of that stuff. It's like, I'll find the better copies later. Let's make a little more room for these newbies coming in.
Sure.
So it's a fun process, and anything in there, I've already almost pretty much forgotten what's in here. So how much did I need it, you know, kind of thing.
Oh, fair point. Fair point.
But yeah, I got some good stuff that I hadn't seen. There's a lot of these Neil Young. There's this company called Parachute. I don't know if you guys heard of them, but I think they're out of Europe or somewhere. And they do a lot of public domain radio broadcasts. And they take those and they put them on vinyl. So cool. You're getting all these shows. I got this Neil Young show from like 92, which I don't have any, 93, wherever Sleep with Angels came out. It was actually him doing almost that whole album. So a lot of these things are showing up, these bootlegs, and they're actually good quality. They're not really lacking. So I'm kind of interested in picking up on those. But you know, Neil Young has 1,000 albums already out.
Something like that.
You just need like 50 more to add on to that with this. But yeah, that's about it.
Sam's watching us. Hey Sam, how you doing, man? Sam and I have been texting each other today because Oasis tickets go on sale tomorrow, and you had to enter a lottery, which we did. I haven't got a code. Sam hasn't got a code. Maybe we'll get one later this evening. They said they'll be out by midnight at the latest. They just added another show to Toronto, so I'm hoping. And even if you get a code in the lottery, that doesn't mean you're going to get tickets. That just means you get access to the ticket sale. And if it's anything like the Taylor Swift thing, which it probably will be, there was like 30 million people sign up for the Toronto pre-sale, and there was only 6 shows. So imagine it's probably going to be the same kind of deal for Oasis. So
okay, I was going to ask you because I thought it was just over Europe at first, but they've expanded.
No, they just announced. I mean, it's the worst kept secret ever. I mean, everyone knew where they were coming. So they just announced. I think it was on Monday. It's California. It's Toronto. It's East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's Chicago. It's LA, I think, or San Francisco, somewhere in California, and then Mexico City. And then they've added a second date to many of those cities. And so
it's the new venue that's getting built too, Rob, right?
So that's the thing. So in Toronto, they were going to be playing. Are you going to stay with us or no?
I choose to play.
Okay, no problem, man.
I'll keep it quiet.
Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good YouTube. Since I'm having trouble with
All right.
He's going to go play.
Have good YouTubing.
There you go. Hold on.
Oh, we lost you. Your audio's gone.
Sorry, I was just giving him some instructions there.
Oh, okay.
When Mom says it's time to go to bed, get upstairs to bed. What was I going to say? So, yeah, they were going to be playing Downsview Park in Toronto, which is a former airport. And there's been outdoor festivals and stuff there, like Starstock was there and that. So Live Nation just announced last week that they're building a semi-permanent concert venue there. Semi-permanent being it's going to be there for 5 years because the developers leased part of the land to Live Nation. But then after 5 years, the whole thing's going to be turned into condos because it's right in the middle of like a big residential, by one of the big highways and whatever. So we're getting a semi-permanent concert venue for 50,000 people. And because it's semi-permanent, it's only going to take like 6 months to build it. So their Oasis is going to be the first act to play there. So kind of exciting. But as Sam said, all of the codes are out. So I guess Sam and I are shit out of luck.
So Sam gets a code and he can buy tickets and he gets an extra one. Are you going to go down to Virginia?
No, I'm not. Nope. I wish, but no. The other thing, too, is apparently if you get a code, you're allowed to share it with one other person. But I know many people have entered. I don't know anyone that got a code. So
it's like Willy Wonka. You're looking for that golden ticket.
It's funny, right? It used to be you'd complain about going to a concert and having to spend, you spent $150, but that band is worth it. Now even if you wanted to, you can't even get the opportunity to buy the damn ticket anymore.
Yeah,
because they have all these ticket lotteries because there's not enough tickets for the people that want to go. So
And then when you do get a ticket, it's
and
$800.
part of the problem maybe with these guys, not so much with Taylor, because she did actually play Vancouver or is playing Vancouver and Toronto. They're just Toronto. That's it. So all of Canada, if you're going to fly within your country and, whatever, it is vying for those tickets. At least if there was Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, which still pissed us off from Saskatchewan that those were the only three. But they don't even do and I keep saying it, but they don't even do Vancouver and Montreal anymore. And I just don't. I understand it. I say I don't understand it. I do. But I still don't, because there's still lots of acts that do play. Pink was just in Edmonton. Metallica was just in Edmonton. They put 60,000 in Commonwealth. If they're only going to be 55,000 in Toronto, why not put 60 in Commonwealth in Edmonton, and all of Western Canada gets to go?
Right?
Yeah, but it's I don't know. I don't know how to fight it other than run for prime minister and make it so. God damn it! That's about it.
Be the prime minister of music. That'll be you.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I guess the Taylor thing and the Oasis thing are kind of both anomalies because, Taylor's the biggest artist in the world. Can't argue that.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that many people want to go see her. And Oasis is arguably the most anticipated reunion of the century, maybe?
Currently, yeah.
Right?
It could be.
So, at one time they were the biggest band in the world, and for the longest time it never looked like they were going to reunite. So, I can understand why there's a lot of people that want to go, but it's funny that back in the day, it wasn't that hard to get tickets. It's just like, do I want to spend the money? Now it's I want to spend the money. I don't even get the opportunity to buy a ticket. So
take my money. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alas.
It
Prime Minister Joe, that has a nice ring to it. It doesn't, because that would be the only thing I'd really give a shit about. Is just making sure that concerts were in more places. Well, that's not true.
Prime Minister Joe has a nice ring to it, apparently.
It does.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know.
Glenn says saw Noel Gallagher in Buffalo not too long ago. Yeah, I kind of regret Noel played Toronto just before the pandemic, I think, or maybe just after. And it was like $60 or $75, and it was like a theater kind of venue. And I didn't go, and I really kick myself now. But well, it is what it is. So that's my bitching about tickets. Thanks, Sam. You provided a good opportunity to vent about it. So
yeah.
Anything else you guys want to chat about before we jump into this week's topic?
How's the Great White North, Daryl? The white or north? They're the north or north? I don't know. Not white yet. Right?
The Great
It's
White
not
North
white.
isn't it's not white just yet. It's been gloomy though here.
Yeah.
A lot of well, I guess we're running at about 12 degrees now. I don't know what the weather is like down south or out west, but
yeah,
a little bit chilly here. And today was more like they had an open house at my younger son's school, so I was there for about an hour after work today. There's not a whole lot going on here. I'm my father-in-law's coming up next Friday for the Thanksgiving weekend. So I think we talked about that on Sunday. That's a long drive from Chatham, Ontario, all the way up to here, but he's going to come and spend some time with the kids, and that'll be good.
Nice.
good. Right on.
So yeah,
Sam wants us to talk about Record Store Day.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm looking at it.
I haven't even looked at the list yet, Sam, so I got nothing to say. I know that U2 is putting out how to reassemble an atomic bomb, so I desperately will have to get that. But other than that, I haven't even looked at the list yet.
Yeah, if we did get into that, we're going to be doing that all night.
I know. Maybe we could start that at the chat next week, maybe. But
yeah, it'd be a good subject when we have time to review after that.
does
I've actually
Canada have the same
I've never bought an RSD.
Does Canada have the same RSD list as the U.S.? Yes, we do, but there is also a Canadian record store day list as well, in addition to the US one. So there is 2 record store day lists up here. So there is a whole, I think it's recordstoreday.ca, I believe. So instead of .com like your American one, put .ca on the end, and it'll take you to the Canadian site. You can see both lists. And if you're American, you will have heard of nobody on the Canadian list. So,
And ours all spin in kilometers. I'm not sure how many kilometers an hour 33 RPM is. Like 12? No, it would be the other way. It would be faster, right?
Right.
I don't know if anybody's ever done that math. What is that math? There is no math. Never mind.
Go run for prime minister, man.
No.
It's not the same. Oh, it's the same day. It's just, it's exactly the same day. There's just a separate Canadian regional list as well. So, but yes, it's the same day.
Well, it'll be American Black Friday. It won't be Black Friday here. Well, it'll be whatever we're now calling Black Friday.
Well, we have Black Friday, but it's only because the Americans do, right? For us, it's just a shopping day. We all have to work. It's not a holiday. It has nothing to do with Thanksgiving, because our Thanksgiving's 2 weeks from now.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with anything other than it's a big shopping day for the Americans. So the retailers here have Black Friday sales as well. So the Black Friday itself means nothing to us.
Yeah. And in the retail biz, really, I mean, all of that kind of pricing was out before, because really only, I think it's maybe 5-7 years that they started kind of coordinating it as Black Friday as well. It was always everybody waited for Boxing Day sales, but now it's just, let's just start selling stuff at a discounted price a little earlier and call it Black Friday, and then they'll still
mark it up so we can mark it down.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Look who it is.
Curtis.
Young LP lovers. How you doing, Curtis? Since Curtis and Daryl and Joe are here, I'm halfway through editing our Canadians talking about Canadian music episodes. So it's taking me a little longer than usual because there were some audio issues that I had to work out. But it looks like it's probably it'll be up on my channel as my Sunday morning video. So
awesome.
But I redid my intro. Before I had like Canadian Tire and Tim Hortons and all that. There's a new intro, and I like it better than the one we had before. So
cool. Look forward to it.
Wait and see. It'll be fun.
Cool.
It will mean something to all of us, but if somebody like John would watch, he's going to go, what the fuck am I seeing here?
What am I talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
They're all cultural touchstones. So,
yeah, I was looking at Richard's question about the difference between Canada and U.S. Record Store Day. I'm looking. I don't see anything. I've never really heard watching it. Videos made by people in Canada. They're not showing anything different than what I saw. So I don't.
There is a Canadian regional list, and usually the first of you go. I'll take a look and see if they posted the Canadian list yet. So.
Yeah, and usually there's like an ambassador and everything, right? I mean, just like there's an ambassador in the States, and then there is a different UK list as well. Anyway,
Curtis. He asked about house hippos, and it's hilarious that you should ask that because the new intro for Canadians talking about Canadian music starts with the house hippo. I shit you not.
That's good.
All right. Music Sanctuary, good evening. Record Hound, good evening. Richard saying, what is it in France, FEA? Does it translate to the day of spinning music?
Yeah.
So that's hilarious. All right. So our topic today, one is the loneliest number. Joe came up with the idea, let's talk about some solo artists in whatever shape or form that takes. Is it artists who are just, solo artists and that's a thing? Or are they people that were in bands and went solo, or people that are still in bands but did a solo art? It's whatever the hell you want it to be. So we've all pulled some solo records. And since John is our guest, he's going to go first and talk about Billy Joel, probably. Not yet. You going to save him for last then?
Come on, man. You gave it away. Nobody thinks I ever talk about Billy.
No. I never talk about Blue Rodeo either. So.
And it's funny because you texted me with that, and I was going to try to avoid him, but you
got him, man.
I have to.
You have to.
So
without further ado, John, you go first. And I'm going to look up the Canadian Record Store Day list.
There you go. And I was trying to think of, let's hit some different genres too, and try to, some of these are familiar artists, but not familiar artists. So I was trying to dig a little deep to play around with it. The first one I brought up was Art Blakey. It is Art Blakey. You know, we don't see too much jazz on this channel because Rob has trauma from his early days, so we don't do too much jazz. But I got to bring up Art Blakey because this is like my favorite jazz drummer. I probably have, I don't know how many of his albums I have now. Got to be 30 or so. But yeah, and I did a little background on it. So he was born in 1919 and he died at 71. And it was an interesting story with Art Blakey because he started off as a sort of like a jazz piano player. And he was playing in a place, I forgot what city it was in, but it had some mob influence in there. And he wasn't holding up to par. I forgot there was a famous piano jazz player that came in, and not necessarily at gunpoint, but under the impression of a gun, they said, you better go get on those drums and play really good. So he learned really quick how to play jazz drums. And it was a good thing because obviously he's known as one of the best jazz drummers out there. And what was cool about him, I was looking up his history, is the jazz messengers were always changing. And what he said, he was always bringing in all these new jazz artists that were fresh on the scene to kind of mold them and give them the experience that they needed to, you know, advance their careers. And once they kind of reached a point, he said, you need to get out and you're ready. You're ready to go start doing your own stuff. And so some of those people were like, I think like Wayne Shorter was part of that. Lee Morgan was one of those guys. And he's played with like Miles Davis. He's on a couple early Miles Davis albums. He's played with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. But I just thought it was neat what he did, kind of bringing in musicians that he could see had talent, letting them shine. Obviously, it helped him with his albums, but then said, hey, it's time for you to go on your own. I'm going to bring somebody new in. And he did that for, I was looking at it, he did that for several years. Yeah, from the 50s, he started it right up to his death in 1990. He was basically molding those artists. So that's my first one, Art Blakey. That's the man. So there you go.
Okay, good. Just to circle back, I was not that I wasn't listening, I was. But there isn't a Canadian Black Friday record store day list yet. But if you look at the record store day list from back in spring, there is the list that you all would see, and then there's about 30 titles at the beginning that have a big Maple Leaf beside them, and they're Canadian exclusive ones. There used to be a separate actual Record Store Day Canada list, but there is I'm not going to bother pulling it up on my screen, but you can see all these have little red Maple Leafs beside them. So we have the same list and then a bunch of Canadian exclusives. To circle back to the question from before, John showed Art Blakey. So there you go.
Yep.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Record Hound says house hippos usually skip the records playing. Well, you know, house hippos are small. They don't cause a lot of vibration. Jazz Trauma would be a great name for a band. Yeah,
it would be. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Richard, yes and no. Same RSD list as the States, but addition. See, exactly what I was just saying. Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me.
Curtis says, jazz drummer. I just discovered that from a thrift store find. Idris Muhammad. Really liked it.
Yeah, check that one out.
Write her down.
Yep.
Okay. Daryl, Joe, who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Daryl.
All right. So my solo list, the way that I'm going to do this is going to be in chronological order, and I kind of thought about it from a perspective of solo artists that I think had an influence, at least on a specific genre that they were a part of. So this one here, I know, and it makes me jealous that Rob actually has, I think you said an original pressing of this guy. And he is a rock and roll pioneer along with a Chicano rock pioneer. Died. He had a short-lived career, but I mean, he had a movie made about him in the 1980s and everything. And I mean, I had to go with Richie Valens as my first choice. I mean, there's no doubt that La Bamba, I mean, you can ask most people about that song. I was listening to this one the other day. Come On, Let's Go, Donna. I mean, they're all great songs.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's no doubt that him and the Big Bopper and Buddy Holly had a huge influence on rock and roll music, along with, Elvis Presley and a few others. I mean, just crazy. It just makes me jealous that you have that. I'd love to get a copy of that. But
first pressing.
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I went with Richie Valens because of the three. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have Buddy Holly. One day I will have the Big Bopper in my collection, but Richie Valens is probably my favorite. And I mean, if you look at even other bands from that time, like the Champs with Tequila and stuff like that, I mean, that Chicano rock, as much as it doesn't really exist today, there's no doubt that at least in Canada and the United States, the influence they had on rock and roll was crazy. So yeah, little Richie Valens.
That's a
good pick, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, Joe.
So the impetus of this evening was, and I'm not going to harp on it other than to say you should watch it, is I was watching the Tragically Hip documentary. And at some point, Gord Downie made a solo album. So my thought going through my head, and they discuss it a little bit, the band discusses it a little bit, is like, if I was in the band, especially with Gord, certain bands, if the lead singer decided they were going to make a solo album, they're not so much of a big deal. But if I'm in Blue Rodeo, I'm not in Blue Rodeo, neither was Gord Downie. If I'm in the Tragically Hip and Gord goes, I'm making a solo album, I don't think he ever said he's going solo, which is totally different. I'm starting to go, oh shit, now what, right? Freddie Mercury was another guy that did it as well, where I would have thought, I mean, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and obviously really good in their own rights and could have probably, are out on their own. But anyway, there's certain bands where the lead singer went, I'm going to try it on my own. And I just kind of wondered what the band would have went through, and the Hip talk about it a little bit. So my collection is going to be people that have been in bands and have either done solo projects and or just said, screw it for some reason, whether it was ego in some cases, or the band broke up and then they decided they were going to continue on. And or in the case of the first one, the band tried, it just didn't work, and they finally got talked into going solo and then had the record that I'm going to show. So that was the impetus of it. I do want to say, Trevor from Flat Round and Spun mentioned Nothing But a Good Time, the 80s hair metal documentary. I watched that one. I got my Paramount Plus subscription, so I've been watching all these docs because there's lots of them good ones on there. So watch that. And then I watched One Love, the Bob Marley movie, not the documentary. And there was another one that I watched. And well, there was two more that I watched. What the hell was the other one? The Tragically Hip. I talked about that. Anyway, I'll get on to who I'm going to talk about. And they were in the band Blue Angel. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with the band Blue Angel when I say that. And I wasn't until I watched the documentary last night. But it's the band that Cindy was in before Cyndi Lauper, before this album. And they played a little bit of it, and it's not bad. I didn't stream a whole bunch of it, but I did listen to a little bit of it, and it was pretty decent. And she was very adamant that she wanted to stay with the band. They were her band. They had taken her in and they had made her part of that band, and they were just kind of starting to, obviously first album, starting to get their act together. And somewhere some guy said, well, that's not good. It sounds too old, not age old, but it sounded period old, I think. But you can hear that a little bit, I think, in some of the songs on this as well. And this I don't think has any of the guys from Blue Angel in it that I'm aware of. And I probably should have checked on that. But so with that, Cindy was in a band to start with and was adamant that she wanted to try, but it just didn't happen. And then, she didn't want to obviously not go on and not do anything. So somewhat reluctantly, Kate, I'll go out on my own. Some producer got a hold of her, gave her these songs. Some Girls Just Want to Have Fun is actually a remake, and I think I've talked about that before, and I think that's a known fact, but it's completely different than it is on the album. And that's a song that falls into the category we talked about a few weeks ago of I'm probably good without hearing it too many more times. And I texted Rob yesterday. I said, I listened to Paradise by the Dashboard Light yesterday. It's back on the good list for me. I had it on my bad list, but it's back on the good list. I was singing along.
There you go.
With all of that said, this is a really, really good album. I think it's a very good album. It's a very pop album, but stuff like Shebop and Money Changes Everything, and of course, Time After Time, killer ballad, great, fantastic ballad. Cindy's got a fantastic voice. It was well done. It was, well cared for. It was in the right hands. And then I've got her other ones. I've got Time After Time, and I've got the next one. I don't have a lot of more recent stuff from Cindy, but anyway, so there's a solo artist that I admire and learned a lot from. It's called Let the Canaries Sing. It's on Paramount Plus. So that's another documentary that I would recommend watching. That was pretty darn good. So there you go. That's my first one, Cyndi Lauper, and was in the band the Blue Angels, but then went out on her own and did pretty good, and still continues to. She's actually writing, or she's trying to write with some people, a new Broadway play. She did Kinky Boots and won a Tony for it. The only female main composer that ever won a Tony, I think, according to the documentary. Spoiler alert. So she's trying to write a new one, and still very active in her support of the LGBTQ community. I think I said P, not B, but you knew what I meant. And I always somewhat admired Cindy, but after watching the documentary, I've got a kind of a newfound admiration for her. So there you go.
Yeah, I watched it as well. It's a good documentary.
Yeah, I thought it was. There was some stuff I certainly didn't know, and again, I've always been a fan, but a little bit more of a fan now after watching it for sure. And yes, it is a Kiss pillow. It's my.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to break out each individual solo Kiss album for this.
No. Thought about it, but no, I'm going with people that have been in bands, and again, for one reason or another, have gone out on their own, either permanently or from time to time. So
cool.
Or Time After Time.
Yeah, there you go. And True Colors is. I listened to both of them today. I listened to She's So Unusual and True Colors, and they're very solid albums. They're very solid, good albums for sure, I think.
Well, I wasn't sure which record to show first, but since you're talking about people who were in bands and left bands and the uncertainty of what that means for a band got me thinking as you were talking. I mean, there's several ways to approach it, right? You could just be like, fuck it, I'm going solo because I'm bigger than the band. Or, I think in some cases there are people that still want to stay in the band, but they want to write something a little bit different, and they just say to the band, hey, I'm going to do this side thing, but I'm coming back. And it doesn't always work. But this one that I'm going to show is an interesting, was with a band, and he was the boss of that band. And basically said, I'm doing my own thing. So I'm going to show this because I just picked this up on Sunday. The Boss. Lucky Town. Obviously did a ton of stuff with the E Street Band. Then he basically said, I'm doing my own thing, and that was the end of the E Street Band for, a good decade and a half, something like that.
Yep. Then
he put the E Street Band back together, and this is one of these albums. This was from 92. And this was not a E Street Band album. I found this at the record show on the weekend. I went to the record show with Jeff from Speaker's Corner. We had a great time. And I found this, and I haven't made a video yet about my Springsteen journey, but I've mentioned before, I'm absolutely loving it. And so I bought this not knowing any of the songs that are on here. And I don't hear anyone ever talk about this, nor do I ever see it anywhere. It's the first time I've ever seen it on vinyl. I got to say, this is a goddamn good record. I really, really like it. So, it's an interesting case study. I mean, he had, 10 people in his employ in the E Street Band, or however many were in the band, and they said no. And then I can imagine they're kind of left going, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And it's amazing that 10 years later they, or whatever it was, they get back together and then have been touring now for the last 24 years. But the Boss. So let's see. Tokyo Record Style. Rob, just popping in. Don't mean to interrupt, but you're the boss doing a Japan vinyl tag. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was for those that haven't taken a look at the Japan vinyl tag. You should. It's it was challenging. I got to say, I don't have any Japanese records or Japanese pressing, but that wasn't the point of the Japan vinyl tag. They were sort of Japan inspired questions, and I had a tough time. There were actually two that I couldn't answer, but it was still really fun to do. So for those watching, check out Tokyo Record Style. It's awesome. Watch once again, and I'll send you the list of the songs that are in there. I'll do that later tonight after I'm done doing this show this evening. But thank you for popping in and saying hi. All right. We'll go around again. So that means it's John's turn.
I'm up. And I was just looking too.
Give me
Because
1 second. I'm just going to go tell the kid to get to bed, but carry on without me. I'll be right back.
okay, I have a question for you when you get back. Okay.
All right, let her rip.
Or you want me to?
Yeah, let her rip.
Because I didn't know if you also had Human Touch, because that came out the same time as Lucky Town. They were
I
released
don't have Human Touch yet. I've been looking for it.
Yeah, they were released on the same day, and I think he wanted to put out a double album,
Oh,
and they didn't want it to happen, so he released two separate albums. I believe it kind of reminded me of that story.
they're kind of similar looking covers, if I recall
Yep.
correctly.
Yeah, they came out on the same day.
They're both very shitty early 90s graphic arts. They look like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best album cover.
No. But, you go to a record show, right, and you always see Born to Run and Asbury Park and Nebraska and Darkness on the you see those all the time. Born in the USA, and rarely do you ever see anything except those.
Yeah.
So when I saw this, I'm like, wow, all right. The record doesn't even look like it's ever in play. The jacket's got a little bit of wear on it, but I'm like, I was thrilled to pick it up. Hadn't heard it. I'm eventually going to have all of them.
Yeah.
I'm just buying them as I find them. So I was pleasantly surprised. I really. It's up there, maybe in my top three. I like that. So
Cool.
all right, I'll let you give her go, and I'll go get my kid to bed. I'll be right back.
Okay. So my next dude I'm bringing up. So the other one was, what was that one? Jazz. So I'm gonna do a little. Well, he falls. What was that? Is that my feedback? Who is getting feedback? You guys hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll try to not be distracted by it. So this guy's soul, R&B, jazz, blues. He dabbled in country. Ray Charles.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all the. I think it's
Yep.
the first. How many albums did he do with Atlantic? 5 or 6. Those first 5 or 6 Atlantic albums. This being one of them is just. If you're going to start with Ray Charles, I would say here, because this is the one that really stands out for me. This is the one, like, when I'm in the mood for Ray Charles, like, I always grab this. So this album's going to get worn out before any of those other Ray Charles albums. But those first 5 or 6, the Atlantic years, are just amazing. Like, and you can hear all the influences in there. When he's doing an instrumental piece, I didn't understand why they categorized them as jazz sometimes, but now listening to more jazz piano, I hear it. I can hear the difference. And now I can hear the difference, like when he's actually playing a blues song on piano instead of like a guitar, you can hear it. So, yeah. So I call him a Florida boy, even though he was born in Georgia. He was only there for like 4 months, and he was raised in Florida. So I take Ray Charles in. He's ours. Georgia might fight me on it, but he's ours. Because he actually, up in St. Augustine, where we go once a year, there's a school for the blind up there. And he actually attended that school for some period of time or whatever. But this guy had an amazing career, 62 albums. Like I mentioned, country. He did those 2 country albums, Modern Sounds and Country Music. And just amazing. He took country songs and just made them his own. So that was pretty crazy, too, how he was able to do that. But he had a long career. I think he actually died at 63. I thought he would, he seemed like much older. So he must have aged, he was ill and all that. So he looked older. But he was only 73, because that's not that old for him to pass away at that age. But he's played with everybody: Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Elton John, B.B. King, even Billy Joel. He played with Billy Joel on Baby Grand. So, yeah. And if you guys don't know Ray Charles, it's songs like Georgia on My Mind, Hit the Road Jack, which that song is like a love relationship. Like when I was younger, I used to sing it because you're a kid and you're saying "Hit the Road, Jack." You think it's funny. Then you get older and you're like, that song. It kind of grew back on me again. I had it on the other day. I'm like, no, I kind of like this song. It's good. So yeah, so that's my second pick, Mr. Ray Charles.
Mr. Ray Charles.
Got to give him a shout out.
Good one.
62 albums. That's insane, isn't it? When you think about it, and we talk about bands with 10 albums. Oh my God, they did so many.
Well, it's 62 albums, 7 live albums separate from those, 39 compilations, and 127 singles. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty good body of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't accuse him of slacking off.
No.
That's crazy.
All right, Daryl, you're next.
All right, so we're gonna kind of continue with the rock and roll stuff here. I don't hear too much about this guy. The big thing about my next selection is he probably is responsible for 3 of the largest dance crazes ever of the 1960s. One of which I think is still played at weddings and high school dances and all this kind of stuff just for fun. And that is, and I think he often gets overshadowed with some of the R&B singers of the time because he wasn't R&B, but it says on Wiki that he definitely had some R&B stuff, and that's Chubby Checker. With the Twist, the Pony, Limbo Rock. I think is still played at all kinds of dances. I know I actually hosted a high school dance last year, and all the kids wanted to do the Limbo. So even kids today are still doing his dances. I mean, he's got an influence. He's still alive. According to what I'm reading here, he had a ballad that was released in 2013. So, I mean, he's still going on. I mean, there's no doubt that his influence on at least the rock and roll dance phase of the 1960s was there. I mean, you saw all that you watch some of the videos from the 60s TV shows and all that kind of stuff, and he was there, definitely there. So went with a little bit of Chubby there.
You're right, though. He's one of those guys that, was very influential and, was as big as you could be, especially when the Twist came out, but isn't in the same breath as some of the others of the time frame, right? I think we all know, and I think most people know the Twist, but yeah, in a general conversation, he probably might not come up as a pretty big deal from that time, and he should, because it is good. It's good stuff. So,
question here for you, Joe. Oh, sorry, John. Sorry.
Yeah.
Question for John: is there any 1 or 2 albums of Ray Charles you'd recommend?
Yeah, I'm looking. Definitely Yes Indeed, the one that I showed. Any of those 5 or 6 First Capitol records, but Yes Indeed, and I was looking. What was the other one? Sometimes I get the names mixed up. I would go with the second album. And they're so good. They're all so good. But yeah, Yes Indeed, and the second album or the first album. So it's called Ray Charles. It had a different name too. I forgot what the name of it was, but they've reissued as just Ray Charles. And I can show you what that one looks like while you guys talk.
Richard has to say, and given the sheer number of records we find in thrift stores, Jim Neighbors must have put out 1,000 albums. Yeah, that's true.
Well, I thought I saw Anonymous Brewery had 200. So, but
yeah, so that one.
Hold on.
Yeah,
that's the first album. It even says rock and roll, but it's just Ray Charles. That's the first album. They were released it as a different title at one time. Can't remember what it was, but it should just look like that. But yeah, such a good album. I was just listening to this one today.
Cool. All right, Joe, you're next.
Cool. The other documentary, I looked on my phone because I'm old and I leave myself notes on my phone, was the Melissa Etheridge about making her most recent album at the Leavenworth State Penitentiary for Women, her version of the, Johnny Cash at Folsom. So it's a good documentary and it's a very good album. It's got some new material. It's got some deeper stuff that she doesn't always play live. And then it's got some of her hits, but it sounds really good. and the documentary's good. Has her talking to and meeting with some of the inmates and why they were there, and talks about some tribulations in her life that I wasn't aware of until watching the documentary, or at least maybe I'd forgotten. So that's the other one that I recommend watching. Okay, my next guy is one of my favorite Canadians. We always like to get our Canadian content in here. Takeoff. And Cindy, I think the band, she tried to keep it together. It couldn't stay together. It didn't stay together. I don't know why Kim Mitchell went away from Max Webster, because Max Webster just kind of stopped after that. It's not like he went, okay, I'm going to go do some stuff. And I don't know if they'd broken up, and then that, because I don't know the history. I should have done my homework and actually tried to figure out why it is that Kim Mitchell not left Max Webster, but why Max Webster was no longer, and then Kim Mitchell started up. But I'm certainly glad that he did. One of my favorite guys. Again, some goofy rock and roll from time to time, like I'm a Wild Party. Easy to tame, just some basic good rock and roll. Him and the gentleman that plays with him, that's been with them all along, that should have been a lead singer on his own, but has always stayed with them. And he's always had great guys in the band. I saw Kenny Aronoff play with him one time when he came through, and just good stuff. He's still out there getting it done. This is the EP with Misdemeanor on it. 5-6 albums afterwards. And all the Max Webster stuff is great too. It's not all just him, but he's a big part of Max Webster. So I apologize because I don't know for sure if it was, okay, Max Webster's done and then Kim went out on his own, or Kim went on his own and that made Max Webster be done. I'm not positive. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. But anyway, Kim Mitchell, a good Canadian kid, great guitar player, very good guitar player, and still out there. So if you're in Canada and have a casino near you, I'm sure Kim Mitchell will play there within the next little while, because he's coming to the casino here, and I'll go see him again. I've seen him, however many times I've seen him, and it's always a good show, and he still sounds good. Some of these guys, they start to just do it for the money, and I'm not sure that Kim's doing it for the money, but his voice is holding up and still sounds really, really good. And Matt, not Peter Fredette. Peter Fredette, does that sound right, as his backup guy? I can't remember. But anyway, Kim Mitchell, that's my next guy that was in a band and then is not in a band anymore, but still getting her done. And I can't remember the dude's name.
Is he a guitar player, like a lead guitar player? Or
he
just
is. Peter Fredette. It is Peter Fredette is who I was thinking of. Yeah, he's a guitar player. He's always been the singer, but he's always been the lead guitar player as well. Okay. Usually he's got Peter plays the keyboards and the bass in his band. And again, he's been with them all along, right from that EP, but was not in Max Webster, and has a fantastic voice. If you ever hear the song All We Are, there's a second voice that sings a lot of that song. And it sounds really, really, really good, actually. And he always sounds great live. Both of them sound really good. But yeah, just straightforward rock and roll. I think Daryl and Rob are familiar with Kim Mitchell, but for those that aren't, guitar, rock and roll, and fun, and nothing too serious. Patio Lanterns, you've probably heard.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Joe. Is he doesn't take himself seriously, which is a great thing. I mean, a lot of his music is just fantastic. Lager and Ale, another one, just the cool stuff,
Yeah, and it's not wailing guitar solos, but the guitars are always pretty prominent, and really good. And again, I know I always equate a lot of what I talk about to the bands that I've seen or want to see. And he's still well worth it, and still puts on a great show, and still sounds good, which is important, because there's some guys and girls out there trying to get it done and shouldn't be anymore. And unfortunately, I guess have to be out there doing it. So he's not one, though, I don't think.
I saw him play with you. I saw him play with your favorite solo artist, Joe. I saw him guest with Bryan Adams.
Yeah, I'm sure they've done a lot of things together. Actually, it was really good. There was one of those little summer concerts where there's a bunch of Canadian bands get together, and he closed out the Sunday night, but the guy from Prism came out and sang with them, and they all did Patio Lanterns together. It was like, Canadian rock, not royalty. That's not the right word, because Brian wasn't there, so it couldn't be Canadian rock royalty. But
well, of course,
it's always fun. It's always, and it sounded really good. So yeah.
When I saw him, it was on Brian's Reckless 35th anniversary tour or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he was playing in Hamilton, and Brian comes out for the encore, and he goes, "I got a couple friends that want to come out and play with me. I hope you don't mind." Everyone's like, "Yay, we don't do else coming
Sure.
out."
Yeah.
And out walks Kim Mitchell and Randy Bachman.
Well, there you go. That's
They did
pretty
the
good.
encore, but they did taking care of business, but they didn't do any Kim Mitchell songs, which was bizarre. They covered a song by the band, so
That's okay.
whatever.
That's all right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, my turn. I'm going to show something different. I don't think I've ever shown this, and this is just kind of a great record that no one's heard of by an artist that no one's heard of. But this is a self-titled album by Bobby Charles. And everyone goes, "Who the hell is Bobby Charles?" That's right. Who the hell is Bobby Charles? I heard about Bobby Charles because I'm a huge fan of the band. And it's not on it didn't make the movie, but it's on the record. One of the songs that the band does with Dr. John, Bobby Charles joins them as well. And Bobby Charles is a singer-songwriter, I guess Americana singer-songwriter, I guess, from Louisiana. And he's kind of credited as being sort of the founder of that, what they call Louisiana swamp pop. So it's just kind of that rootsy, if you know who Dr. John is, he's associated with this. Bobby Charles, as a result, did a lot of work with various members of the band outside of the band. Like he co-wrote some stuff with Rick Danko. And on this album, I think Rick Danko's on here, Levon Helm is on here, Garth Hudson is on here, Richard Manuel is on here, Dr. John is on here. Everyone from the band except for Robbie Robertson plays on this record. It's a little known record that nobody's heard of, but it's good kind of rootsy Louisiana swamp pop, Americana, whatever. Fun record. Can't believe I found it in a record store in Toronto. This is a reissue, but it is like it just came out of the factory yesterday. I've played it, but before I had it, I don't think it had ever been played. So
Yeah.
kind of an obscure rootsy thing. It's kind of right up Sam St. John's alley, to be quite honest. So
Good.
yeah. Look at this. Wyoming Dave. I've heard of Bobby Charles. He did another version of See You Later, Alligator that Bill Haley made. Yes, that's correct.
Wyoming Dave bringing in the hard, cold facts.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Record Hound knows who he is, too. So there we go.
Geez, I
Richard
want to
S.
kind of pull an
Who the hell's Bobby Charles? Well, hopefully I answered your question. Sorry, what's that, Joe?
Didn't mean to talk over you. I said I want to kind of go. I want to go pull an audible now and go pull a record that you just kind of made me think of. But we'll see if he comes up, and if not, then I'll mention it at the end.
All right. Music Sanctuary says, "I'm a loyal Canadian, but I just don't like Bryan Adams. The pimple-faced kid just never hit a chord with me." Yeah, he's kind of a take it or leave it guy. Joe hates him. That's why I make fun of him all the time.
I don't hate him. I told you I'm tired of some of them. I'm tired of a lot of it. But there is some that I like. I don't hate him.
It's okay to be wrong, Joe. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. I am lots.
Yeah, me too. My wife reminds me every day, many times.
Yeah.
So. Triumph is another good Canadian rock band. Yes. Little known fact, one of the last permanent members of Triumph is now the lead guitar player for Bon Jovi, Phil X from Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Wish my dad was still alive because my dad knew him when my dad was alive. So, anyway, let's go around again, which means it's John's turn. Are we going to see some Billy Joel yet? Like we're waiting with bated breath.
So I'll give you some clues of this guy, and you can figure out if it's Billy Joel.
Okay.
It's the oldest person I have to show. He was born in 1888.
Probably not Billy Joel.
Probably not Billy
Joel.
Blues singer from Pennsylvania.
Not Bryan Adams.
Not Bryan Adams. He did a lot of prison time between like 1915 and 1939. He was kind of in and out of prison, in and out of jail, but wrote these amazing songs the whole time that he's kind of
looking at Lead Belly.
He's already got it. Yeah, it's Lead Belly. How many other people have that history? But it is a cool story though, right? Because he's in there, and actually one of the things he was serving for was a murder charge in Texas, and he wrote a song, I don't know, to the warden or about being free or whatever, and gave it to the warden, or actually the governor of Texas at the time. And he liked it so much. There's hearsay if this is a true story. It's kind of back and forth, but they're saying he liked it so much he went ahead and reduced his sentence and let him out, even though he ended up in jail again for something else. So I don't know what everything was about, but he wrote hundreds of songs. And I don't know if you've heard of the Lomax brothers, who were going back, and they kind of discovered Muddy Waters and all those guys. They discovered him. They were in a prison system recording stuff and came across Lead Belly, and they're like, hey, this guy's really good. So they actually started recording a bunch of his stuff. And after, I think they said like 30 years of him kind of starting as a songwriter, he finally was kind of discovered. So, but I guess the biggest claim to popularity fame would be when Nirvana did his song on the Unplugged special. And I don't know which one's actually the real title for it. So it's Where Did You Sleep Last Night, or My Girl. Oh, there was two different titles that I looked up. So I don't know what the first official title for it was. But definitely know about Where Did You Sleep Last Night. And listening to his version of it's pretty cool, because there's a part in the song. Do you guys know the song? You guys know the song, right?
Yeah.
And you know the Huddy's version, right? About like the leaving a head on the seat in the pickup truck. So it didn't turn out too good for somebody. So Kurt Cobain left that part out of the song when he did it. But when I'm listening to it for the first time, I'm like, what's he talking about? I had to back that album up and play it again. I'm like, holy cow. That's
the original title of the song, John, is In the Pines.
So In the Pines, which is in the song In the Pines.
Right. Also known as Where Did You Sleep Last Night, or My Girl, or Hey Girl, or Black Girl. It's a traditional American folk song dating back to the 1870s.
Yeah. So maybe he didn't write that. But he does a great job. And when you hear him playing, he played a 12-string acoustic. I don't know if it's acoustic. I'm assuming it was acoustic that he played. But just a pretty amazing guy, pretty amazing career. And one of those record store day releases for Black Friday is one of his albums. So I don't know if they were able to clean it up. This one is pretty good. They've done a pretty good job of cleaning it up from what the Lomax brothers did. But if you want a starting place for him, this is a good compilation. And there it is right there. Where Did You Sleep Last Night?
There you go.
Cool.
But, Lead Belly, Huddy Ledbetter, that guy.
So as Dave's saying, Ram Jam's Black Betty and Goodnight Irene, written by the Weavers, written by Lead Belly. I've been looking for that Ram Jam record forever, and I've never found the goddamn thing.
I didn't even realize that. Really?
No,
Okay.
No, I've been looking for it for like 5 years, and I've never, ever, record stores, record shows, never seen the damn thing.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he wrote that. That's not even on here. Interesting. All right.
Just say hi to Andrew, who's tuning in from the northern part of Toronto. Andrew, if you like Sleeman's beer, the brewery's 5 minutes from my house. I drive by it every day. Dave says he just came across Ram Jam's first album. There you go. Cool. Right on. That's a good one, John.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Daryl, you're next.
All right. So I'm gonna cheat on this one. I'm gonna do a twofer. To represent, I guess, the country category of influence. Now, I could have went the easy way on this and went with Johnny, but I chose to go a different way. So one of these is Canadian content. One that, in all honesty, I mean, Robert Fithen doesn't typically comment on too many other people's videos, but he did comment on this particular album on one of my earliest videos, and he said that him and I are probably the only two people that have ever shown Anne Murray. There's no doubt that in the Canadian scene, I mean, when it comes to Canadian country and female singers and all that kind of stuff, possibly one of the biggest influences ever in Canadian female music history. So I went with a little Anne Marie to represent some country. Now, from the male perspective, I mean, like I said, I mean, I could have went with a little Johnny Cash, but to me, that was just too obvious. But I mean, Kenny Rogers is no
No.
walk in the park. I went with little Kenny. Showed him in the beard video that he did there. So, I mean, "Coward of the County" is probably my favorite country song almost of all time. It just my dad used to listen to it when I was a kid, and my dad had this album. I'm probably going to do a video one of these days of records that I actually have duplicates of. I do not know why I have two Kenny Rogers greatest hits albums in my collection. They just happen to randomly show up for free thrifting and stuff like that, getting them for free. So yeah, I mean, there's no denying that Kenny Rogers, along with Johnny Cash and a few others in the 60s and 70s, had a huge influence on country music. And Anne Murray, no doubt, had a ton of influence on Canadian female musicians. So I thought that those are two solo singers that I wanted to go with today, with at least from the country genre.
And the Gambler never gets old. The Gambler is always great.
If you can find a copy of The Gambler, the album The Gambler, there's a free Kenny Rogers poster in it. It's pretty good. And they're almost always in there. Kenny was not one of those guys that made it up on people's walls. But as well, for those that are unaware, Kenny was more of a rocker before, right? In the first edition, because there was just dropped in and there was a lot of really good stuff. And Ruby, Don't Take Your Guns to Town, which is borderline country, but it could also be kind of folksy in that leg. But there's some good, actually, Kenny Rogers in the first edition as well. He almost made my list because first edition and then Kenny Rogers afterwards. But he's definitely one of those that if you're in the right mood for it, it's just fantastic stuff. And yeah, The Gambler comes on and you can just, a warm summer's evening, and it puts you in the mindset of that. And he's on the train and things like that. So he was a good storyteller, and he made decent chicken, I think, as well. Although, right?
He did.
I think so. Yeah. And he wasn't even a horrible actor. He wasn't great, but the one with him and the kids where he was a race car driver, Rooster.
I watched. I don't know how many times I watched Six Pack as a kid. Yeah,
it's good stuff. I watched it a little while ago. It's fun. So
yeah.
I want to come back to Curtis's comment here, speaking about Anne Murray, Nova Scotia proud. For you, Curtis, because no one else, I guarantee, is going to give a shit about this, but you might. I don't have any Anne Murray, while I do appreciate her place in our musical tapestry. She had a nephew named Dale Murray, who is a pedal steel player. And there's an album you might want to try and find. It's hard to find. There's a band from Nova Scotia. They only put out one album, a band called the Guthries. Dale Murray was in it, and so was a young unknown musician named Matt Mays before he went solo. I actually do have a copy of it on CD, and it's very sort of, Nova Scotia, early 2000s, kind of stuff, but it's kind of good. So, connection to Anne Murray. And then Dale Murray would go on and play on the first couple Cuff the Duke records as well, which you also might want to check out, Curtis. You might appreciate that.
I think her brother had an album out too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Brian
Murray's Snowbird album. Music Sanctuary. Linda Ronstadt for just picked up her greatest hits 1 and 2 for 120. Joe and I have talked about this before. Yeah. I don't understand why Anne Murray records are, $5 and $10, and no one has Linda Ronstadt records because they're fucking fantastic. I've got a bunch of them, and every time I see one, generally I grab it, and I just picked up one the other day. I was going to talk about not Anne Murray. Fuck, you got Anne Murray in my head, Daryl. I was going to talk about Linda Ronstadt tonight, but I talked about her multiple times, so I pulled other stuff instead. But Linda Ronstadt.
I came this close to picking my Linda Ronstadt album. It was between her and Anne Murray, but I wanted some Canadian content, so I went with Anne.
We like Canadian content on this channel. Yeah. We also like house hippos.
We do.
What's Andrew saying here? Coward of the Country is a great but dark song. I love it. Saw Kenny live at the CNE in '77. If it makes you feel old, Andrew, I wasn't even born yet then. Curtis says, I've heard you talk about the Guthries. Yeah, you spelled that right. I'll keep an eye out. I'll grab it in a minute when it's not my turn, and I'll just hold up so you can see it. Let's see here. Music Sanctuary says Canadian country Katie Lang, of course. Yeah, she's from your hometown. Oh, that's cool. She was inducted into the CCMA a couple weeks ago. Yeah, well deserved. I don't think she's done much in recent years, but man, in the '90s and early 2000s, she put out a lot of great stuff.
Well, and then she pissed all the Albertans off with the beef thing. But her version of Hallelujah at the Vancouver Olympics is arguably one of the best songs performed by anybody anywhere. I know that's a stretch, but she took a very, very good song and she did a killer version of it. And the whole setting in BC Place as part of the Olympics, it was just really, really good. So if you haven't heard that, Google that stuff or YouTube that stuff, whichever, you'll find it. It's out there. But I think Rob's right. I haven't heard much from her in the last little while. She had there was a couple that we had in a collection I bought a while ago of her first couple of Katie Lang and what was her band? Yeah, it was Katie Lang and the no, not the Attraction. That's Elvis. Yeah, but there was something and those, and then it just turned into Katie Lang afterwards. So
yeah, I'm going to make myself big here for a moment. Curtis, this is the album you want to look for. It's called Off Windmill by the Guthries. Good luck trying to find it. Came out in the year 2000. But you'd like it. It's up your alley, I think.
Dave's got it.
Let's see here. Okay. Joe, your turn.
Yeah. And Dave is correct. Wyoming Dave is correct. It was Katie Lang in the Reclines. Yeah, it was good.
Yes.
Yeah, whether she's doing anything or not, I'm not sure. She's probably one of those that's due for a documentary, maybe. They seem to be making a lot more of those. Another one I watched, and then that's it. I know we all love to listen to our music, but I do love to watch a good documentary about music as well. And it was not a solo documentary, but it was a 4-part series. Geddy Lee, Our Bass Players, Humans Too. Another good one on Paramount Plus. That was kind of fun to watch, actually. I enjoyed that. And I'm a Geddy Lee fan, so I know some people can't stand him, but I don't mind him. And he did a good job, and the guys and girl that he spoke to when in the 4 episodes was pretty good. So there's another thing to watch if you're looking for music-related stuff to watch. Okay, up next, I'm going to do a twofer because they both did solo albums after the band broke up. Because I think this was certainly a case of the band breaking up or it just got to a point where they were not viable anymore. So it is Joan Jett, and then it's Lita Ford also, both from the Runaways. Of course, Joan, maybe a little more, get it in the right spot and get the glare off of it. Man, I suck at this tonight. Anyway, a little more, I think, widely known than Lita, because Lita really only had the one hit, which was Kiss Me Deadly, and then the other one, Close My Eyes Forever with Ozzy Osbourne. But Joan, I don't know if she necessarily has had a big hit career, but she's always, I'm going to take it out of the friggin'
Oh, yeah, she's had a big hit career. If you take a look at her greatest hits, you don't realize how many of her songs you know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They were definitely more epic than Lita's. I Love Rock and Roll. I mean,
yeah. And I think that I think she's fairly well revered in the music industry as well. There's a lot of rock and roll men and women that not put her on a pedestal. That's not the right way, but I know like a Dave Grohl and things like that talk about her.
Yep.
Where again, she's pretty well known, but they just think the world of her opened lots of doors for a lot of performers. Actually started her own label as well because nobody wanted to put I Love Rock and Roll out. So it's okay, screw you guys, we'll just start Blackheart Records. And then, bands like I think L7, and there was a bunch of bands that she signed and helped bring up, female fronted bands and others as well. So I think that she's done a lot, and I haven't seen her for a while. She is on tour with Alanis, actually, which would kind of be interesting. I think that'd be a good show to see her and Alanis together. And then she was out with Def Leppard and Motley Crue and Poison on that stadium tour that they did as well. And I've only had a chance to see her once, and I'd love to see her again because I think she's still getting her done, for lack of the proper term. And then Lita, I was really looking forward to seeing Lita Ford, and then the frickin' pandemic hit because she was going to open for Alice Cooper the most recent time that Alice was through, and ended up that changed because the concert, got postponed by a year or a year and a half, and then it was Buck Cherry who sucked. But anyway, I haven't ever had a chance to see Lita. Good guitar player, and
Did all
again,
her own guitar work.
yeah, not as big of a name as Joan, I don't think, but still pretty good. So there's a couple more females that went out on their own for no other reason, I think, than the band just wasn't together anymore. So, and they decided to go and do their own stuff, which was good. Glad that they kept going because I enjoy both.
Yep, good ones.
Good. All right, my turn. I'm going to do a 2 for 2. Why not? What the hell? And I'm going to go with 2 female singer-songwriters. Keep it a thematic 2 for. How's that? How is that? This is a woman that started off as a songwriter that wrote a hell of a lot of songs with her husband for a hell of a lot of people, and then put out one of the greatest solo records of any singer-songwriter, Carole King's Tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a record. This is
Yeah.
one of the best.
When I got back into vinyl, that's one of the first ones I had to get a hold of. Yep.
Yeah. If you don't have that record, go and get it. Just
You don't have
I
a
don't
record
care.
collection.
Go and get it. No, exactly. It is
Right.
unbelievably good. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, there's some good stuff in there. I mean, I feel the Earth Move, I think, is the big one. It's Too Late was another big one.
Still Love Me Tomorrow.
Still Love Me Tomorrow. You've Got a Friend. That was the Gilmore Girls theme song. Everybody knows that one too. I mean, it's just,
It's a good album.
I mean, she's got an incredible songwriter. I mean, Goff and King wrote a lot of songs for a lot of people, but I mean, wow, her voice, an amazing songwriter, great piano player.
Yep.
I mean, she really, I think, blazed the trail for a lot of that archetype, that female singer-songwriter.
And her other solo stuff is good as well. There's at least a couple more albums that she put out also of her own stuff.
Yep. And I'm going to bring out a contemporary female singer-songwriter that's known for about 2 songs, but I think she's wickedly talented. Lisa Loeb.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep. I have her first album on vinyl, Tales. The one with the green cover on it. And she had Stay, which was the hit that made her famous because it was on the soundtrack for Reality Bites, and that topped the Billboard charts when she was unsigned, first artist ever to do that. And then on her second album, she had another hit, and I can't recall what it was off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, I'll have to look. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't look.
Yeah, it's going to drive me crazy too. She doesn't have a lot of vinyl, surprising. I think maybe 3 albums on vinyl. This is her album that came out in the pandemic. Came out in 2020. It's called A Simple Trick of Happiness, or Simple Trick to Happiness. And, it's like the rest of her stuff. It's just folky, acoustic, sort of, female singer-songwriter stuff. I show this one because this is autographed. And my story behind this is when it came out, I went to order it off of her web store, and it said, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are not shipping outside of the United States. If you are international, please email Lisa's website. So I emailed Lisa's website, and I said, I would like to buy this record. Can we arrange shipping to Canada? And the person that responded was Lisa's personal assistant, and she said, why, yes, we can. You have to pay shipping. And I said, no problem. And she goes, would you like the album signed? And I said, why, yes, please. And she goes, would you? And then she emails me back the next day, and she goes, before I sign it and get it shipped, Lisa would like to know if she would sign it to you. And I went, yes, please. So Lisa signed it to Rob, stuck it in the mail. I paid for it. I paid for the shipping, but how cool is that? So there you go.
Yeah. Was it I Do? Is that the other one?
I Do, yes. That's off. I think the album was, it's the one where she's lying down on the cover and it's kind of like pink. I think it's called Dynamite, something like that.
She was kind of like she kind of had the hotness about her. Like I don't know if it
She's
was
like
the
she was
glasses.
like that quiet librarian
Yeah.
bookworm kind of hot.
Like that one girl in school that was quiet, but you knew she was up to no good. Like I think Lisa Loeb kind of has that.
Yeah, and she's got those hot librarian glasses, and she's a
Yeah, there was something about that when that came out.
worked for me in 1995.
Yeah,
Still works for me in 2024.
it still works. Yep.
So
I'm gonna tell Susanna Hoffs. I'm telling her.
listen, I love Susanna Hoffs, but I would cheat on Susanna Hoffs with Lisa
Oh
Loeb.
no,
Oh, there you
It's
go.
gonna be
All right, that's saying
a girl
something.
fight.
Then.
Oh, that'd be a girl fight. I would watch that.
That's pay-per-view quality girl fight there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a three-way.
Okay, this is
Taylor Swift, Lisa Loeb, and Suzanne Hoffs there.
this is getting a little naughty, and I'm gonna get
Rob in the corner having a heart
warm
attack.
here. Let's see here. A few comments here. Dave says James Taylor covered "You've Got a Friend" the same year. Yes, he did. Couple people saying hello. John, there were two other top 40 hits. I Do and Do You Sleep. Yeah, Do You Sleep? I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I have to listen to that one. I'm not sure.
I remember that one. Yeah.
She's still going. She took a break and made some kids records, and then that's the album that came out a couple years ago. But
She's in the most. She's spoiler alert. If you watch that '90s show, which is the more recent version of that '70s show, there's a dream sequence that she's in, and she's pretty good in it actually. So
cool.
yeah.
Hot Librarian would be a good band name. Yeah, that kind of sounds like
that would
like
work.
one of those '80s hair band kind of names, eh? Hot Librarian.
Yeah.
It certainly wouldn't be a group of us guys, Hot Librarian. Well, that would be funny though. UK, Alison Moyet, album called Elf. She skated circles around Adele in her prime during the 80s.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
I know Alison Moyet. I'm just not familiar with her music. So, JWG Moore, one of my favorite artists who was in a well-known band, Mott the Hoople, became a successful solo artist, is Ian Hunter. Yes.
Good call. Yep. Good stuff. Both
Which
with and without.
Yeah,
What's
and he up on Mike Campbell's album there too.
Yeah. All right. John, your turn again.
Okay. So this is a guy I definitely miss. His music is always hit and miss for me from the 90s. Like I didn't like complete albums by the bands he was in, but there's definitely when he had a good song, it was amazing. He was born in 1964 in Seattle. Daryl, let's see if you can get this. So born in 1964 in Seattle, Washington. Okay. What's some other clues I can give you? That's about it. That's all the clues. But he was part of the Seattle grunge burst there in the 90s. He was in, he had one collaboration album that he did with another popular band of that time. And they did one album together.
So it was Temple of the Dog. So it's either
That's
what
what I was gonna say.
He did pass away in 2017 at the age of 52.
Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
Cornell, yeah. So he's one of those guys that was just starting to enjoy his solo stuff. Because I definitely like, there's bits off of, like, I don't like complete Soundgarden albums. They just didn't do it for me. But you can't deny, like, Black Hole Sun.
Yeah.
What are the other ones? What was the other one? Shoot. Drawing a
Jesus
blank.
Christ Pose and
Yeah, Spoon. I love Spoon Man. See, that was so different than their really heavy sound. It had such an open sound to it, so you could hear what he could do. So he does Temple of the Dog, and I thought that had some good songs, not a completely great album. But then Audio Slave comes along with that first album, and that thing from beginning to end is like amazing. Like a Stone and I Am the Highway are the two big ones that stick out on there. But it's getting into his later stuff. I think this one was released posthumously. And this is him just doing cover songs. And there's what was it? Patience is on here. Nothing Compares to You. Did he do Sweet Child of Mine on this one? Anyway, so this is a really, really, if you ever see this, grab it. It's good. Just Chris Cornell is a solo artist, and just that voice was just so unique, and he could hit any freaking note he wanted to, and he could put his emotion in there. So I would recommend like this one, and then I believe this is his first solo one that he released. I just came across it. I'd never seen it before, so I grabbed it. And what a great album! I mean, this thing from beginning to end, also for me, it's just well done. So, yeah, just one of those guys you kind of miss and wonder what else he would have done. You know, because I mean, 52. That's how old I am now. So it's kind of hard to imagine how much what he left behind. You know, how much more music he would have had. So, yep, that's Chris Cornell.
Good.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's funny. It's funny you mention him. Like when I was in high school in the 90s, I mean, my dad used to hate most of the music I listened to, like a lot of other dads do with their teenage sons. But Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden, for whatever reason, my dad really liked those bands. There was just something about them, and the vocals. And Chris Cornell fits that vibe. I think he just fit in with a lot of people, no matter what the age, no matter where you were from.
Yeah. I wanted to like him more. I don't know. Even the Black Hole Sun, the solo in there drives me nuts because I don't like that solo. It just sounds like this. It's like, there could have been a better solo in there, but that's my opinion on it. But yeah, he's just one of those guys. I was kind of more of a Pearl Jam. I was into that. And then, yeah, you had all these guys at the same time. It was just, I came up through the 80s. So when this grunge thing hit and my friend's like, here, check out this Pearl Jam album. Oh my God, you got to check out this Alice in Chains album. Holy crap. We were getting hit left and right with this stuff, and it was so different. It was nice to hear this change in music. And then, of course, that brought Neil Young up again. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Godfather.
The king of
Audio Slave, it's unfortunate again. I mean, it's unfortunate we lost Chris for a number of reasons, but the fact that we didn't get more Audio Slave music, because Morella on the guitar and just what he added to it, speaking of good guitar solos. But
Yes.
yeah, the songwriting in that and Chris's voice on that, and just they were fantastic. They were, and that solo, that covers album is very, very good. I've got that. And he is one of the regrets that I have, where I went, oh, I'll get a chance to see him. We were on holidays, and I had the opportunity. I could have come back, but I didn't. Oh, I'll get a chance to see him again, and then I didn't. I get a chance to see him again. So go and see bands when you get the chance to go and see them. It's unfortunate. It's crazy, but it happened. Yeah, and a shame on that one for sure. So,
yep. Now that I brought everybody down, all right.
No. It's good to think of these guys in that light. Now it's unfortunate that it was a suicide that took him away, and that always pisses me off a little bit still, right? Like even the Kurt thing and all of these guys, even Taylor Hawkins. I mean, it angers me because we care about them and wonder why, but I think we can kind of understand why it happened.
How dark was your world?
Yeah, but it's like the 5 stages of grief for someone that you have really nothing to do with. I'm pissed off at him, and then I miss him, and then and then I eventually I don't know if I've ever fully come to grips with it. I mean, that's kind of sounds silly for a rock star, but yeah, there's certain guys where I really, really wish that they were still around.
That stings. Yeah, like anytime, Tom Petty. It's like there's certain people that you hear that voice, that his name, you're like, man, it's like, you miss them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, that's depressing. Now it's Daryl's turn.
All right. You have any Tiny Tim? Let's bring out some.
Daryl. Yeah.
This might be slightly depressing for a couple
come on,
reasons.
right there.
So Dan G just mentioned here, grunge killed disco. Well, this is my next genre. And I mean, those of you that are watching the show here, you know that bands like ABBA and stuff, disco is just not my thing. But there's no denying that the 1970s, I mean, that genre it was everywhere, right? And I don't usually talk about disco because I don't have too much of it in my collection, but there's no denying that the queen of disco Donna Summer, I think is important. And I mean, disappointing. I mean, we talk about musicians that died young. I mean, she was only in her early 60s. From what I've read, she died of lung cancer. She was a non-smoker, just one of those random situations. But I mean, she had 12 top 40 hits in the disco era, all disco, top 40 hits on the Billboard charts. I mean, you can't deny Hot Stuff and Bad Girls and all that stuff. I mean, I don't necessarily like disco 100%, but I mean, you can't deny Donna Summer as an influence. I mean, yeah, grunge probably did kill disco.
I like
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
I think I was watching a top 10 video. I think it was on, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, a top 10 video about genres that are dead, and disco has apparently its own the day that it died.
It's got a
Um,
date, does it? Yeah.
right? So I mean, it went from full force to the Bee Gees and ABBA and all those groups, and then one day it was just gone, right? So, but I mean, Donna Summer, I mean, she comes into play there, and I mean, as much as I don't like the genre, I have to respect her and what she did for that period of the 70s.
We've got some of her albums at the shop, and I've got some of them here as well. Her greatest hits, I guess, on the radio is a really good album. It's funky, it's fun, it's positive, right? Sometimes my wife gives me grief for the depressing music that I listen to, and she's right. But then I put on some Beatles, or I put on something like Donna Summer. We were talking about Donny Osmond earlier. I don't have any Donny Osmond to show. But Casey and the Sunshine Band, that's another band that's just fun. It comes on and I enjoy it. My high school yearbook, honest to Christ, and I could show you it somewhere. It says disco lived and disco died, but rock and roll is still alive. That was my stupid little comment. But that's because I was a smart ass kid. But now the Bee Gees and ABBA and the bands that you just talked about, and like I say, Casey and the Sunshine Band, Leo Sayer, for what it's worth, You Make Me Feel Like Dancing comes on, and it's just a positive song, because I do listen to a lot of depressing sometimes music, so it's nice to have that as the option to throw on every once in a while. So,
what's your favorite Donna Summer song, John?
That's Dave. Well, yeah, Dave. That's the one I dedicate to you, Dave. Just for you. You're the only baby in my life, Dave.
There you go.
There you go. Joe, you're up.
All right. Speaking of depressing people who not necessarily killed themselves on purpose, but killed themselves, this is an interesting album for any of you that have heard Sid Vicious, his solo album, and his version of My Way. There's some other covers on here as well. This was really just so Sid could buy some more heroin. I think that's all that this was. Someone put him in front of a microphone and said, here, sing these songs, because I can't even remember what else is on here. I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges is on here. My Way. And for those that don't know, yes, My Way, like Frank Sinatra, Elvis, My Way, sung by Sid Vicious. And it's different. I can't say I don't enjoy it when I put it on. It's not something that hits the turntable very often. But when I came up with this idea, it was one that I thought of a guy that was in a band who couldn't play worth a shit and really couldn't sing, but still had a little bit of a career and then took himself out. So that's one just to kind of, not a curveball, but a little different, if I could put it in the right spot. Sid Vicious, the one and only album that he did, and it was £4.99 back in the day, put out on Virgin Records. So there you go, a little Sid Vicious and solo album.
It was about the attitude. He didn't need to sing. It was the attitude.
Yeah, no, well, yeah. If you watch, there was the not documentary. They did that series a couple years ago on the Sex Pistols, and yeah, he was solely. You got the right look. You can figure out how to kind of play bass, but you look exactly what we're looking for to stand beside Johnny Lydon and be part of the Sex Pistols. They pulled that album off. That was one of the albums I talked about most recent, in the last little while, how I thought it was such a fantastic album. Still holds up, still a great punk record. But yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, they had a much better bass player before Sid, but Sid was the Sex Pistols, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
You talk about his cover of My Way. That's crazy. That's a crazy cover.
I got to hear that now.
That's the video. If you watch the video, yeah.
Yeah,
Nancy, I look like Stevie Nicks. There you go.
I'm going to kind of do it the way Joe's been doing it for this one. An artist that was in a band that decided to do a solo record. And this is an interesting one. It's one I bet nobody owns. And I bet it's one nobody has listened to. But it's interesting. And that's Steven Tyler's quote-unquote country record called We're All Somebody from Somewhere.
I got it on CD, yeah.
I'm a huge Aerosmith fan, so I bought it. This was him saying it's a country record. It's not a country record. There's nothing country about this.
Southern rock, maybe.
Southern rock, maybe, sure.
Kind of.
And this got panned by the critics, and they said it was absolute shit. I don't know about you, John. I don't mind it. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, I kept the CD.
It's kind of what you expect.
Yeah, it's exactly what you expect.
Right. Now he does a cover on here of an Aerosmith song called Janie's Got a Gun, and it sucks.
Yeah,
sucks bad.
It does.
And he covers Janis Joplin's Piece of My Heart, and it's compared to Janis Joplin, it sucks. But all the other original stuff on here, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's, I saw it one time on vinyl and I picked it up, and, because I have everything that Aerosmith did. I don't have any Joe Perry solo stuff, but this is not bad. It's not as crap as the critic says it is. But I also think nobody listened to it because nobody wants a Steven Tyler solo album, and it was advertised as Steven Tyler's country album. You go, why the hell would I want to listen to that? But I like it.
Cool.
Let's see here.
Joe Perry project.
What's that?
I saw the Joe Perry project. They opened for
Oh, that's right.
Motley Crue, one of their tours. It was good. It was a lot of Joe Perry playing guitar.
I wouldn't care about the Joe Perry project per se, but I would happily just watch Joe Perry play guitar. Absolutely.
Oh, that's really what it was. Yeah. There was some other guys on stage, but it was just Joe Perry playing guitar. Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we? We're about here. Glenn says, I visited Nancy's grave last summer outside of Philadelphia. Jeff from Speaker's Corner. And welcome, my friend. Jeff and I went to a record show on the weekend, and Jeff posted a video about it as we've been doing this live stream. I'm going to check that out later, Jeff. We had a lot of fun. Steven Tyler made a country record. I never heard about that. You and a lot of other people, Dave.
Yeah.
Music Sanctuary says, I don't own it, but I've heard it, and it's not that bad. Yeah, I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's fine. More to say about it than that. I just played that album 2 days ago. Funny, saw his solo show. Really good. That would have been interesting to see a solo show of his. Sammy Hagar did a pretty good Piece of My Heart cover on the Standing Hampton album. I didn't know that. I don't know a lot of Sammy, so. Let the music do the talking. There you go. Okay, let's go around again. John, are we going to see some Billy Joel this time?
Yeah.
You're going to leave him right till the end, aren't you?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm freaking out a little bit because we got on the whole – everybody that I brought up so far, they're dead. They're all dead.
Well, then you better talk about Billy Joel.
This next guy, I'm like, I better get moving, and I'm checking the internet right now just to make sure.
Yeah, just up to date.
Because he's 91 years old. He was born in 1933.
If he dies tomorrow, it's going to be your fault.
I don't want that guilt.
No pressure.
Daryl, who is a country artist, 91 years old, just did a big tribute album.
Yeah.
Country.
91
years
old.
old.
I'm running a blank on this one. Running a blank on that one.
Surviving member of the Highwaymen.
Oh, yeah. Willie.
Yeah, we just lost a Highwayman, Chris Christopherson, yesterday, 2 days ago.
Speaking of records I've been looking for and can't find, I'm looking for the Highwaymen albums, and I can't find them anywhere.
Walmart just like I go by Walmart, just kind of see what they have. They have a live recording of them from 92, 93.
Oh yeah.
And I grabbed it because I had never seen the album on vinyl. They had
Right.
3 albums. They were putting out an album almost every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it, and it's a really good album because they cover the Highwaymen song, but then they also do a little, some Willie stuff, some
Right.
Johnny stuff. Really good. So if you see that, I would pick it up, and it's not bad.
We don't have Walmart here. Doesn't sell records. So.
Yeah. But I saw that. I'm like, I better go grab that.
All right.
So these are 2 albums from his career that it was kind of him breaking away. He kind of let the industry kind of guide his way the first years of his life. And he was like, okay, I need to start putting out some albums that, I have control over. And I believe these were the first 2. One came out in 73 and one came out in 74. The first one, Shotgun Willie, which is this was a record store day last year, maybe Black Friday. And then this year they put out Phases and Stages. And these 2 albums, this is like what I feel country should sound like. I know there's Hank Williams country, which is different than this. And that's country. That's almost like folk, bluesy. Hank Williams is that. But this is like, he's adding horns in here. And I know that's not typical country, but it's making it more enjoyable by adding some more elements to it, where it's like, I'm going to have a country feel to my album, but I'm going to put in these horns and this brass to give it some oomph. And that's what both of these albums do. He recorded them both in 73. One just happened to come out before the other. But it has, I don't know if you're familiar with the song Phases and Stages. What's the big ones off here? Bloody Mary Morning. That was a big one off of here. And then off of Shotgun Willie, the song Shotgun Willie is really great. Whiskey River, that's a big song from him. And he did some Leon Russell stuff on here too. Bubbles in My Beer. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but A Song for You, which has been covered by, I think Leon Russell wrote A Song for You, and he originally recorded it. But like Ray Charles has an amazingly great version of A Song for You. But Willie does it on here, and it's a really good job. But
He and Leon have an album together, actually. Leon and Willie have an album together, and it's very good.
Yeah, I have to check that one out. Seems like Willie tried to do albums with everybody.
Yeah,
Every
agreed.
time you turn around, Willie did an album with this guy, with that guy.
Yeah,
he's
didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. He even has an album, I think, coming out. It's ready to go. And his voice is so ragged now, but it's like he still is trying to keep himself going, so it's tough to watch. So Willie Nelson, still alive. There you go. Hopefully he'll be around for another 10 years, But anyway, a little country flair for you guys.
I don't think he's ever ventured into rock. He did Stardust, right, which was some covers of standards and that. But I don't know if he's ever necessarily done anything rock, like even duets or anything like that with anybody that I can think of.
No, he always stayed right within his realm. He would branch out a little bit, but it's like Dolly putting out this rock album. It's like, give me a break, really, But yeah, he always kind of, I don't know if to say played it safe, but he knew where he needed to be, and he never did anything.
Yes, yeah.
Some stuff might have been subpar, but it still was Willie. Was never Willie trying to be something else, kind of thing. So. Yeah, but those are 2 definitely albums I can recommend there. Those are, man, when I played those the first time, I played them like 3 times a piece when I first picked them up. They were so good.
Cool. Awesome. Daryl, what you got?
All right, so my next one, I don't want to call him a master of all trades, but I guess you might be able to. As the story goes, apparently before he became a musician, he was a gravedigger. And according to what I'm reading here, his genres include anything from rock to soft pop to disco. Although I don't remember ever listening to any of his disco stuff. Maybe the one song, I think.
The one song.
And of course, soul. This is my mom's. I don't usually talk about my mom too much, but this was my mom's favorite album by him, and I got to go with Rod Stewart. And this is the Vagabond Heart one, and this is the one that has the Rhythm of My Heart,
Yeah.
cover of Broken Arrow, the Motown song. So, I mean, there's no denying. I mean, Rod Stewart, being a ladies' man, everybody liked him. Now that I think about the disco stuff, do you think I'm sexy and all that kind of stuff? I guess that would be disco. Of
Yeah.
course, being in Faces associated with Jeff Beck. I mean, the guy. I mean, the guy is, and now, from my understanding, he's just any albums he records now, he just doesn't give a shit. He's basically like, you know what, I I went with what the music industry said to do back in the day. Now I'm just going to do my own thing.
No.
And there's an album that I have on my want list. I forget the name of it now. Anyway, it's the one that has "Leave Virginia Alone" on it from the mid to late '90s there, and I mean it's going on Discogs for just ridiculous amounts of money, $150, $200 just for this album. I just can't justify that, but I mean he's still going strong today, married and divorced twice or whatever it is. I mean he's just a ladies' man. All you got to do is watch his music videos, and I mean I'd love to see him in concert. My favorite song by him is definitely "Forever Young."
Oh yeah.
I like that video with the little redhead. I don't know if that's his son in the video, the redhead kid that's with him on the back of the truck, but really cool guy. I like Rod Stewart, and I mean it's one of the few box sets I actually have I own in my collection. Rod
Storyteller, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's funny those disco albums of his. When you really listen to them, it wasn't a completely disco album, because I did kind of a deep dive last year before on Rod Stewart and just kind of went through everything. And yeah, he had those disco kind of sound, the drum beat, but the rest of the album had other like good rock songs on there. So he never like like Kiss when they put the one disco song out, right? So Rod Stewart had a couple disco songs, but really the rest of the album to me was a Rod Stewart sort of rock pop album,
Yeah, that whole album, Blondes Have More Fun is a pretty decent album. It just had that monster hit. That was that. You're right. And there was I Was Made for Loving You, and there was Miss You by the Stones was the disco-ish just because it came out at that time and it had like the 4/4 beat or whatever it had going on. But yeah, back to the Faces and Stay With Me. That's such a great song. And then his rendition of lots of stuff, because he does some good covers too.
He did a lot of covers.
The Cat Stevens one that he did a very good job with. I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, good stuff. Good choice.
Yeah, definitely Rod.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Right.
Yep.
Your turn next.
And Music Sanctuary, you are correct. Dolly does look good in her Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders outfit. I've got that album right back there. It is interesting. It's different. It's Dolly Parton's take. It still sounds like Dolly Parton, but it's her singing rock and roll songs. It's interesting. Hey, so I've talked about folks that have gone out because their band broke up and or other things. And then there was Sid Vicious. This is a guy that solely went solo because of his friggin' ego, I think, anyway. Because the band he was in had the biggest album of their career, and he went, I think I'm going to go out on my own now and go away from the greatest guitar player that there ever was. And I'm going to start my own friggin' band, and that's David Lee Roth. Now, on this album, he's got Steve Vai, who is a very good guitar player. He's still not Eddie, but he's a very good guitar player, and Greg Bissonette and Billy Sheehan, right, on bass. And I saw this tour, the Eat 'Em and Smile tour, and it was still Dave in his full-blown David Lee Roth glory. And again, he had Steve Vai playing guitar, so he didn't fall off a lot on guitar. And this was a good album, and he played the Van Halen stuff. But this, I think, was completely, well, it was also, them being pissed off at each other. But a big part of that, I'm sure, was because of both of their egos, but especially Dave's, just because I think it was that much bigger. Eddie Van Halen had maybe not the biggest ego. I think he knew he was pretty damn good. But Dave had an ego. Dave was ego. If you look it up in the dictionary, it's this picture. But not quite. But good album, really good album. Skyscraper was okay. And then after that, Dave got weird and just kind of shit the bed for the next 25 to 30 years, including currently. I don't think he can sing anymore. They wanted to do something, Sammy and Wolfgang and Alex wanted to do a little something, and they talk about doing something because of Eddie's passing, a tribute thing, because there's so many people that were influenced by Eddie Van Halen. And Dave didn't want to do it, and then Dave's in Van Halen, and Dave's out of Van Halen, and it's just a lot of bullshit. And I saw those guys, and they were really good, and I saw Van Halen with Sammy, and I really liked Van Halen with Sammy as well. So, but that is, I think that is solely, I guess, arguing with his bandmates, but a lot more ego to go along with it as well. Because he also had that EP with California Girls, Crazy in the Heat. He had that out before he actually went out on his own. So that's my other one. And then
was that Eat 'em and Smile? Is that one Eat 'em and Smile, the one you just showed?
Eat 'em and Smile. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other one
donut.
the other one was only an EP.
No, well, the first one when he was kind of still in Van Halen, I don't know if it was before 1984 or not. That was Crazy from the Heat, and that had California Girls and Just a Gigolo, and then Skyscraper was the one after that. There might have been. I don't even think there was anything after Skyscraper. And then, like I said, he tried to do some stuff, and he could still sing for a while. I don't necessarily think he can anymore, although I haven't seen him. So I don't know if there would ever even be anything to the Van Halen part of a tribute to Eddie Van Halen, but it'd sure be nice if a bunch of people got together and did some stuff for Eddie, just to see all the guitar players that would come through and say, hey, that dude had a lot of influence on me. So, because I'm sure there were a few.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping you'd mention Just a Gigolo, because usually when you think of a guy that comes out of a band like Van Halen and they do Just a Gigolo, it's either gonna make them or break them, right? But it's kind of a funny song. It's almost like the Kim Mitchell thing that you were talking about before. He just didn't take himself seriously, and everybody liked it.
Oh, it was a hit.
Of course. Yeah. Well, and the videos with the scantily clad women helped as well, both California Girls and Just a Gigolo. And he did a good job with his videos, right? He had Dave TV and stuff like that. Yeah, and especially the one for Yankee Rose, right, where he's got all the face, all of this going on, and he's in the store, and give me a glazed donut and a bottle of anything to go. So, I don't know about Dave, but he was a hell of a front man, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What am I going to show here? Let's go with something both John and I are a fan of. How's that? Does that sound good, John?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I purposely did not pick her because I knew this was coming.
Yeah. I'm a big Sheryl Crow fan. Inducted last year into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Whether that means anything to you or not, who knows? I think she's great. Not a lot of albums on vinyl, unfortunately, but thank God they finally reissued Tuesday Night Music Club. Yes, John, I know you have the very expensive record store.
You want me to go get that? You want me to?
No, I prefer that you didn't.
Okay.
I have the new one, and that's good enough.
There you go.
I just love everything that she wrote. I think, and by the way, thank you for sending me the unreleased album. That was an interesting listen.
Right, very 80s, very
right,
echoey. Yes,
and it's probably good that it wasn't released.
Yep.
Right, because it's different than everything
Tuesday
else.
Night Music Club, forget it. It's so different.
Yeah,
she was right by saying, "Yep."
Did she say that, or did the label say that?
That's from what I've read. She said, "Yeah," and then the record label agreed with her, and then she was able to move on to Tuesday Night Music Club from there,
which is great.
Oh yeah.
The rumor is supposedly Globe Sessions is supposed to get a vinyl release, which would be.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already this year, but maybe next year, like early. Yeah. Who knows? But anyway, I love this. And you see this. She's got 2 live albums out. There's Live from the Capitol Theater, which is kind of like purple and pink, and it's on pink vinyl. That one's, it's okay. But if you're going to want one of her live, go with this one. Live at the Ryman. It's 3 LPs. It's really, really good. And she's got a bunch of guests on here. Jason Isbell's on here. Stevie Nicks is on here. Waddy Wachtel, one of my favorite guitar players. Emmylou Harris is on here. Brandy Carlisle. It's just a really, really good live album, and I don't know what else to say. I just think she's a great female singer-songwriter. I'd love to see her live one of these days. Don't know if that's ever going to happen, but there you go.
She opened for Pink, and my boss partner at the record store went and said that she was still very, very good. So if you get a chance, get out there and see her. So
yeah, I've seen her 3 times on the Globe Sessions tour. I don't know what other times. Yeah, 3 times though. Nice small venues too, so that was nice.
yeah.
Do you
that's
have this
awesome.
one yet, John? You're muted. You're muted. You're
I cannot
muted.
read lips.
We cannot hear you. Turn your mic on.
I talk in tongues.
Oh,
No, they had that at that Kingfish about a year ago, and I was like, whatever, and I just kind of passed it up. And then now I hear how good it is, and now I can't find it. So that to me is the Tuesday Night Music Club to you.
yeah, but this is easy to find, man. I see it like every week.
I don't see it here anywhere, so maybe I just need to. And I think I've asked them, and it was on back order or something.
Oh, you can probably get it off Amazon.
Yeah, so I always find the other live one that you said it's not as good.
Yeah, it's not as good.
Yeah.
I think it's called Live at the Capitol Theater.
Yeah. Yep.
In fact, I don't even listen to it. I only listen to the Ryman one because it's that much better.
Yeah, that's cool. And I don't have anything. I have bootlegs by her. So if you want more stuff, I have tons of bootlegs. So I have a ton of that stuff.
No, they're called unofficial releases.
Unofficial releases.
That's right.
Well, that would be you know how to get them to me, John.
Yeah,
Not
I just
that we
thought
endorse that kind of thing because
No.
you know,
Hey, I paid for them. They weren't free to me.
right, exactly. So somebody got paid.
Yep.
Probably wasn't her, but
No.
we
She's
can go
probably
around the
okay.
horn again. We got a few minutes. You want to go around one more time, guys?
Yeah, sure.
All right. That means John.
We'll stay with live people here. People who are still living.
Don't kill them.
Okay. So this guy, let's see, he was born in the Bronx, New York, grew up in Levittown. His greatest hits 1 and 2 is the second best-selling album by a solo artist, 23 times platinum. He's had 13 solo studio albums, 7 live albums, 8 comps, and 82 singles. So born in 1949. Who are we going to talk about?
With Joel.
So I know Stranger's a great album, but this and Innocent Man might still be my favorite Billy Joel album. Just it's the time. Like my first cassette that I got was Piano Man that my friend said, "Hey, pick up this guy Billy Joel, try it out." And then my dad had you remember those old spindles that held cassettes back in the 70s? And it would hold cassettes, but not necessarily a case, but the cassettes would go in there. So I'm spinning around my dad's little spindle, and I pull out The Stranger, and I played the holy crap out of that album. I think I even broke the tape eventually. But there was like a weird period. I got into some Elton John for a little bit, Tumbleweed Connection and Madman and that stuff. And then Innocent Man came out. I'm like, oh, that's that guy that I listened to, because I was pretty young at the time. And once Innocent Man came out, I just fell in love with that album. Then, you had Allentown. I kind of started backtracking a little bit. You had Allentown off of this, Pressure, Goodnight Saigon. There's only 9 tracks on this album, but he was going for something. He always tried to make each album different, and that's what I think really attracts me to his albums. There's nothing about each album that are really the same, and he tries to make every song different. He tries to make each album sound different. Like 52nd Street is sort of supposed to be jazz feel to it. I guess there's elements of it in there. But then like Glass Houses was a straight out, like, if you listen to Glass Houses, it's mostly guitar work in there. So he was trying to make more of a rock album there. But there's just something about the feel and have you guys listened to this album all the way through? Like every track? Yeah. So I thought
I've not heard a single song off of it.
You've had to heard Allentown and Pressure, no? What?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Wow. Okay, you got to listen to this album, Rob. That's your homework assignment.
Oh Christ, I don't have time
Yes.
for homework, man.
Wow. Okay, it's amazing you haven't heard those songs because in the
I mean,
States,
I may have. I don't know them, so.
yeah, because Allentown and Pressure like played like crazy. But there's a song on here called Scandinavian.
I'm not an old man like you, though, John.
I know. I was here when these albums came out. I know.
Right?
So I got dust. I got the cassettes back there. So there's a song on there called Scandinavian Skies, and I never really could figure out what he was talking about. But supposedly he had been in Amsterdam, and he had really gotten a hold of some good stuff. And he's taken an airplane ride after his little experience to go somewhere else. And he was having a pretty nice little trip on the way. So he wrote this song, Scandinavian Skies, about that experience. So it's that song's the most like, I don't want to say psychedelic almost sounding song for Billy Joel in 1982. It's really funky. But yeah, I would check this album out. But of course, I cannot go without mentioning Billy Joel. I mean, that's just it. You know, it's funny. There's not too many artists that I have every single album, and I'm glad he only has 13. Like Elton John, there's many albums that I love by him. There's many that I can't stand them. So he's the one with a pretty steady career where I like every album that he put out. So
I think
Allentown's like a working man song. It's kind of like I don't want to compare it. I don't want to compare it to Bruce Springsteen, but it kind of reminds me of a couple of those working man songs.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be. It's really written about Levittown, where he grew up, but here we're living here in Levittown. He's like, no, that's not going to work. So he had done something with Allentown, Pennsylvania, where he had to cancel a concert or something, and he felt like he owed them something. So he's like, there you go. I'm going to call it Allentown instead and do a little shout out to them, and that's what that whole thing was about. But you got Pressure on there, which is a great song. It's like, you feel the psycho-ness of that song. When he was in concert, it was great because he'd do the whole lead part of Pressure on keyboard and run all the way across the stage and finish it up. It was really cool what he would do with that song. But that's definitely a unique Billy Joel album. I would check it out, Rob. You got to check that. I cannot believe you haven't heard Allentown.
I mean, I may have. It just doesn't ring a bell. So
yeah. I have all but the album that We Didn't Start the Fires on. I have everything but that. Joanne's a big fan. Yeah, I have everything else. Billy Joel's great. An Innocent Man has left me a little bit, and I know he's a big doo-wop guy. Like he loves that, and that was kind of his homage-ish a little bit. But after Springsteen later this year, I've knocked off almost all of the guys I want to see live. But Billy's going to be next year. Maybe Salt Lake City. He's in Salt Lake City. I think he's got Sting with him still. He's got Stevie on a couple of them. So that's mine to go and see next year and knock him off my list, because he's one of the few that I not have to see. Yeah, I have to see. I still want to see. And if you're out there on YouTube, probably, John, but look up when he's playing in Russia and they're screwing around with him and he just gets pissed off.
Well, they turn the lights on.
Let me play my song. And I think it might be Pressure that he's doing, actually. And that's what made me think of it. Or, I can't remember. But it's an interesting watch. You can just tell the frustration that he's going through.
Yeah, they were focusing. He was trying to give the Russian audience this experience because he realized how important this whole thing was with him even playing there. And they kept turning the lights on and getting it off the stage and taking away from the concert. He's like, these people, you have to read the story of it, but he's like, they're not enjoying this concert. So he took his keyboard and just fucking threw it across the floor. Oh, he would have to.
And it's on film. It's all out there for the see.
Oh, I remember the headline. I mean, I read it here when it happened. It was like Billy Joel had. I think I even have a paper over there with him doing it. But it was a big thing. Everybody talked about Billy Joel's tantrum in Russia.
Yeah, rightfully so, though. It's not like he got pissed off for no reason. He was getting pissed off for a good reason. So
anyway, it's taken away from the whole thing. Yep. I could talk about him more if you guys want. I mean,
we could keep going until next Wednesday, and you still
could. Yes. So you better stop me now.
Fair enough. Daryl, your turn.
So I'm going to finish this off. I've got 3 that I'm going to show really quickly here. So 1 male, 2 female. The 2 female, there's no doubt with the female ones. It's probably the 2 biggest pop stars of the modern era almost. But I'll start with, I guess, my boy band pick, if you want to call it a boy band pick. So this guy was in 2 bands previously to becoming solo. One of them being the Babies, and then he was with Bad English. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I just like John Waite.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I mean, this album here, what is this one called? No Breaks. Yeah, No Breaks. This is the one that has When I See You Smile and a couple others. Brings me back to
Missing You's on there
late
too.
80s. So I wouldn't say that they introduced like New Kids on the Block and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, I find it hard to believe that Bad English and the Babies wouldn't have had an influence on some of them boy bands, or at least to a degree. And then 2 of the biggest female pop stars almost of all time, I would think. I mean, you can't go solo without talking about Madonna. I'm a huge fan of Madonna up until this used to be my playground. Anything after the mid 90s, I can't stand. I can't stand music, and I can't stand anything after 1999 by Madonna. And I just cannot believe how she's trashed her face with all that Botox and all that stuff she's been doing. She's just ruined herself. But she's still making music. I mean, you can't deny that she's one of the greatest music pop stars of all time.
I saw a funny
And then
meme.
my last one.
I got to interrupt you
what's
for half a second. And they're not making fun of her looks by any means, but I saw something that was funny on the internet. They had a picture of Roseanne Barr today and Madonna today, and the caption was, "If you would have told me in 1990 that one day Roseanne would be better looking than Madonna, I would have thought you were crazy." But it's true, and that's fucked up.
Yeah, it's rough.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So good. And then, I mean, you can't deny probably one of the biggest female artists of the modern era. You can't, I mean, I would have to assume that Madonna influenced her in some way, along with all kinds of others. I picked this up in an Indigo bookstore in Timmins. And that is Taylor's 1989, Taylor's version. I have the Tangerine press of this one. I mean, I'm not a Swiftie, but this is an amazing album. I mean, you can't deny Taylor. I mean, every single teenager that you know, whether they like her or hate her, they talk about her. She's the new Madonna. Hopefully she doesn't end up looking like Madonna. But I mean, she's the new thing. I mean, and I'm going to end mine there. We'll go from Richie Valens to Taylor Swift. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Well, I got to jump in here because as the resident Swiftie on this panel and the host of the show, that's my prerogative. I'm with you, Daryl. I was going to leave here till second last. Massive Swiftie, of course. I love her version 1989 as well. I have that same pressing. I was going to show this, which I think is her absolute best work. This is the album Folklore, but this isn't the studio version. This is the Long Pond Studio Sessions, which was put out on Record Store Day. And it is the most expensive Taylor Swift studio album available. Sells for big money. And I'd like to thank John for finding this at his record store in Florida and sending it to me because my record store didn't have it. So thank you, John.
Yep.
Now they've reissued this in China, so you can get a Chinese pressing of it. And even that one is still $200. But this, I mean, Folklore is a great album, but it was recorded in the pandemic, so everyone did their piece in their studio, and it was assembled in post-production. Then this is everyone convening at Long Pond Studios, which is in New York State somewhere, I think. And they recorded the album again live off the floor, and this is so good. Anyway, it's not my turn now, but I had to jump in because you mentioned
No.
You know.
You go ahead unless you want to finish. Unless you want to be last.
Well,
Okay.
I like to finish
All right.
last. You know, I think of other people.
There you go.
We gotta get that freely solo.
Honorable mentions. So the one that I thought of when you mentioned earlier, and I hope I won't mess anything up with you because I try not to do that. Robbie Robertson. That Robbie Robertson album is fantastic. And once you said his name, I was going to go get it and show it, but that's great.
So I don't have it. I don't have it, believe it or not. I saw it at the record show on the weekend for $10 and I didn't buy it because I didn't know if it was any good.
The first one?
That's the one with
Yeah.
Showdown at Big Sky and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the guys from the
I have that.
Bodines
That's
and
an
that.
amazing album.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I should have bought it. I'm stupid.
Oh yeah,
Is that-
yeah.
Is that
for
the
sure.
same one that has like guys from U2 on there too, right?
Yeah,
'Cause it was
and the
recorded around-
Bodines are on there, and
Yeah, same
It-
time as the Joshua Tree.
yeah. So like I said, that's one that's who I said earlier I should have went and got, but I didn't. But know that if you see it, buy it for sure. If you don't like it, then I'm not doing this with you anymore.
I'm probably gonna like it because I love
which maybe
rock
is a bonus. I don't know.
No,
My
that
other
would be
honorable
terrible.
mentions. My other honorable mentions go to everybody in the Eagles because they all did solo albums and they were all good solo albums. I think Timothy B. Schmidt. I mean, he was in Poco. I think he had a solo album. I'm not sure, but there's
he
Don Henley's, and Glenn Fry's, and Joe Walsh's, and they all had that. And then I'm going to
Anytime
go
we
right.
mention the Eagles. We have to say that Henley's an asshat.
Well, yeah, that. But I think everybody knows that by now. But
I
still,
know, but we still have to say it.
okay, that's cool. He is. I'm going rapid fire because if I pull them out, I'm going to show them things that sound dirty but aren't.
Right.
Tina Turner, thank Christ she got away from Mike.
Yes.
Fantastic with him for what it's worth. Unfortunately, all the bullshit she had to go through. And then this was many years later, but she had a lot of other good stuff in between the Ike bullshit and this. This just happened to be the one that I pulled. But Tina Turner, so thankfully, was in a band, got out of that band, and did fantastic out on her own. Peter Wolf from the Jay Giles Band. This is a fun album. I really like this album. I really liked it when it came out. I think that Jay Giles was kind of defunct at the time, and it was one of those where they probably weren't doing anything else themselves. Kind of like a lot of the Eagles guys. Those albums weren't necessarily during Eagles times as much as it was the Hell Freezes Over break for 20 years or whatever. But this is a great album. I like Peter Wolf. It's a lot of fun. Tommy Shaw and Dennis DeYoung. I didn't pull the Dennis DeYoung one out, but a couple of guys from Styx that did their solo albums. Girls with Guns is a super fun song. This is not necessarily indicative of Styx music. Damn Yankees, him and Ted and whoever else was in that. I think Billy Sheen, actually from earlier on when I talked about David Lee Roth, I think was the bass player in the Damn Yankees, right? But this is a fun album, Tommy Shaw's solo. And then to finish it off, a guy that was in a band named Generation X that really didn't do much, but he took the one song that was a big hit for them, put it on his first record. This is not his first record, but Billy Idol was in a band. These are all people that have been in bands as well, but Generation X was the band that Billy was in. And again, I don't know necessarily the circumstances, but Billy was obviously fantastic on his own, and he got Steve Stevens, and he had a great guitar player. He was always great live, and he's still out there getting her done, like I like to say. He's done a lot of weird concerts. He did that one kind of half at the Hoover Dam where it was kind of half in the one state and half in the other state. He kind of jumped back and forth. I think I saw something the other day where he was up on the Empire State Building. Him and Steve Stevens were doing something, and he's still playing, and he's still, from what I understand, still sounds good. Still snarls like Billy Idol does, and it still puts on a really good show from what I understand. So there you go. There's my rapid fire, and I've always been a big Billy Idol fan. I love the extended track versions of his songs. Vital Idol is always a fun one to listen to. I like all the albums on their own, but that Vital Idol is pretty cool. Just the extended mixes. Always just good, kick-ass, dancey rock and roll, but good.
Do you like the Christmas album?
I don't know that I've heard the Christmas album, but I like Billy's voice, so yeah, probably. If I'm in a Christmas mood, why not? If I'm not listening to the Peanuts album, there's other stuff, so that's okay.
Music Sanctuary says he saw Tina Turner here in the late 70s, played the Isba Lounge at the C.N. McDonald Hotel. She was 10 feet away. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Just her and her piano player.
Oh, wow.
That would be 100% of a memory. I can just kind of picture that in my mind, how great that would have been, because she really did have a fantastic voice. She had a lot of other things going on for her, but Tina could also sing, obviously. Right?
I remember my dad telling me that him and my mom went and saw Ike and Tina Turner when they were together, and said it was an amazing show. So
yeah, I bet. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do a 3-fer because that's what I got left. And these are just, I don't know why I pulled them, but I enjoy them. So this is kind of similar to Daryl's very first pick and Richie Valens. This is an oldie, but one of my all-time favorite solo artists, Charles Westover, better known as Del Shannon.
Yep.
Oh, I just love Del Shannon, man. That guy was cool as hell. Had some great tunes. This is an OG, believe it or not, and it is
Clean.
flawless condition.
Wow.
Some of the big ones on here: Runaway, Run Around Sue, Hats Off to Larry, Little Town Flirt. He did some awesome stuff. And the tragic thing, unfortunately, is he left us prematurely. But to me, he's always the great what could have been, because the Traveling Wilburys, after Roy Orbison left, they were talking about Del Shannon replacing Roy Orbison, and then Del died. And you go, man, what would the Wilburys have sounded like with Del Shannon? That would have been something.
Because Petty was involved with him on Full Moon Fever.
Yeah.
I don't think it was in Running Down a Dream, but there's something that he did with him. I forgot what song he was on.
I can't remember.
Wasn't there some? Oh no, it was a Del Shannon song from the late '80s, "Mansion on the Hill" or "King on the Hill" or something.
Oh, could be.
And Petty was on that. That's what it was. That'd have been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that is frame worthy, Richard. But I play it, so I don't want to put it in a frame.
That is nice if that's an OG. Wow.
It is. It's an OG, and I picked it up for a steal.
Wow.
So,
Yep, it's great. I mean, that could have fallen into the category of albums that play like a greatest hits, because you just said it really is, and and it sounds good. I've got an original copy as well, and it thankfully it held up, and it sounds really good.
What's the title of that one? I haven't even heard that.
It's called Little Town Flirt.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've got a couple other Del Shannon records, but that's the first one, and I'm lucky to have it. This one is an interesting guy that I don't even know if my Canadian compatriots have ever heard of this guy. A guy by the name of Ardeen Taylor. You know who he is, Joe?
Taylor, that's
Indiana wants me.
Yes.
Indiana wants me.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Ardeen Taylor was from Toronto, but he lived in Detroit, and he was a staff songwriter at Motown Records. He wrote songs for the Supremes and all the other Motown artists. And so he put out this album on Rare Earth Records, which is a subsidiary of Motown. I believe he was the first white artist that Motown put out a record for, if I'm not mistaken. And this is called I Think, Therefore I Am. His big hit was Indiana Wants Me. And he had another hit, at least in Canada, called Gotta See Jane, which is a great song. But this is actually a really good record. He also, believe it or not, what the hell is the song here? Where is it? He covers the Beatles' Two of Us from Let It Be. And actually does a really good job of it. Puts his spin on it. But let's see. He also covered Fire and Rain. Yeah, just, it's an interesting story. This guy was just kind of like this white guy writing songs for Motown, and he was actually a good singer, and very few people have ever heard of him. He died about 4 or 5 years ago, and wrote some amazing songs, but almost nobody knows who he is. So I'm thankful to have stumbled across this. Is one of those like $2 finds underneath the table at a record show, and I was like, holy shit, yeah, I'm going to take that.
Yeah, it's good. I like that album, and yeah, he's got that voice, and Indiana Wants Me when the sirens are going off and stuff like that. Yeah, it's ultimately 70s gold for sure, but it's very good. Great choice. Good choice.
Yep. And I'm going to finish this up. I don't know if Jeff from Speaker's Corner is still watching, but he would love this. I can't believe no one has mentioned it. The greatest solo performer in the history of the world, the fucking King.
There you go.
What else do I need to say?
Did you say Elvis Costello? I have one of those. Right?
No.
Okay.
Do I think he's the greatest singer ever? No. I think he's the second greatest singer. I think the greatest singer is Freddie Mercury, but he was part of a band. Solo album doesn't count. But as solo performers go, this was the guy. I mean, his voice was incredible, but he he's the guy that paved the way for everybody. So I absolutely love Elvis. This is the 68 comeback special, which I think is incredible. He's got a lot of shit albums. Like a lot of that movie stuff is not great. But the early stuff is awesome. This stuff is awesome. And I have this appreciation now for like the fat diamond-studded jumpsuit Elvis. I still think he's cool as hell. I didn't back in the day. But, that later stuff like, Suspicious Minds and Hunka Burnin' Love, that stuff's awesome. So
it is. It just is. Yeah.
Suspicious Minds.
It's just good.
Yep.
I can't do the bear up a fuzzy tree. I can't do that. I can't do it. Stop itching, Bear.
Let's see here. Petty produced 3 of Dell's LPs in the 80s and 90s. Okay, and then he stole his bass player, Howie Epstein. Just add Turner to my comment, those legs. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Tina Turner and those legs. You didn't mention, Joe, that she did a duet with your favorite Canadian performer, Mr. Bryan Adams.
I know.
That's a good
her half is fantastic.
Which half? The bottom half?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Yep. We're talking about that. Richard, I have many Elvis albums. I hate the movie soundtracks. Yeah, I mean, I like a few of the. I liked a few of his movies. I mean, Jailhouse Rock was a good movie. GI Blues was a good movie. King Creole was a good movie. But then there's also some really horrible stinkers. But this is where we need Jeff from Speaker's Corner. The man is the Elvis expert. So, touche. Great selection. Very true. That Elvis, that Elvis movie is a movie I watch. I still have not seen that Elvis biopic that was done last year or 2 years ago or whatever with Austin Butler. I need to. My wife's watched it. It wasn't not too bad.
It's interesting.
It's good. And you know what? For me, it kind of resurrected Elvis a little bit. I mean, he was always there and he was always a big, but just to watch that, and Butler does a really good job. But there's one scene, it's like, oh man, I forgot the power of his voice and the power that he had over everybody when he sang. Not the power that the Colonel had over him, but it's worth a watch because, like I said, it kind of rekindled a fire for Elvis for me, and I went and seeked out some more stuff that I had given up earlier that I brought back in. And I'm like you. I enjoy the early stuff, but the Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto and that stuff, yeah, it's just really, really good. Really good. Yeah.
Elvis is that guy that if you said to me, Rob, what's the one concert by a person who has left us? If you could see anybody, who would it be? And I would actually pick Elvis over the Beatles, only because while the Beatles are my favorite, you can't hear them in concert because it's nothing but screaming.
Yeah, if you and I could just have a Beatles concert, I'd do that.
Well, sure, of course,
but not.
But not any of the concert. I would just to see the man, the guy that is responsible. Without Elvis, I don't think popular music would have become the commercial art form that it is. I think
you might have had Buddy Holly kind of coming in there a little bit. He's not as big, but.
He's kind of the archetype, right?
Yeah, Buddy had lived. That's pretty amazing. I wonder what he would have done.
Yeah, but I just imagine like what would have been like to see the comeback special, or just to see. I know one person that saw Elvis in concert, and I just that would be the concert. He'd be the person I would want to see. Just
would have been pretty intense. I think it would have been an intense.
Right.
Energetic, intense show to watch. I
think some of those Vegas shows, the good ones would have probably been really, really good, right? Because it was I think he really still just wanted to be there and do that. Now, again, the Colonel screwed around with him so much and things like that. But I think some of those, obviously the comeback special is the one. But I think that some of those Vegas shows would have been pretty decent.
I've got a couple of those on vinyl, and they're fantastic. So
yeah.
I have the album Canadian Gold when he performed in Canada in the 50s. That would have been cool. I mean, it's the only other nation he ever performed in.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Never left. Never left. He played in Hawaii, but he never left the North American continent. It's crazy.
Yeah, didn't they
Other
cover
than
that?
when he was in the army in Germany,
Yeah,
but
in
he
the
wasn't
army,
a
yeah.
performer at the time.
Yeah.
I think they covered that in the movie, right, Joe? Where he wanted to, but yet he was tied to Vegas.
Yeah,
There's something
yeah.
about that in there. Yeah.
I can see that album, Daryl. It's right up over there. It's an album that I bought. Normally, your parents buy you the albums. It's an album I bought for my dad, and that's one of his collection that he got rid of that I kept for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But I can see it over there.
It's a
the
cool
gold
album.
version, and
It's the
got
one I
interviews.
remember. Yeah, I remember my dad had it too. I thought it was the coolest album because it was the gold vinyl. And is your disc gold?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just
it
a
is. Yeah,
clear, well, see-through-ish gold. It's just a neat
Yeah.
album.
it is. Yeah, here.
And I think
It's right
it
here.
even has like some. Does it have interviews on it? Like a couple of mini interviews or something with Elvis on there?
It does, yeah. I think when he's in Vancouver, I think it's one of the radio station guys that talks to him and that. So, yeah, it's a gold record, and yeah, it's good. And it's
Where'd you
got
get there? Where'd you get that record sleeve, Joe?
I
Here we-
got it. There's this place out of Winnipeg
What's
that
it called?
has inner
What?
sleeves and outer sleeves.
Oh yeah.
And I think if you use the promo code, I'll let you finish off. Go ahead.
Are you talking about vinylstoragesolutions.ca?
That's exactly it.
Ah, they're fantastic. If you
Never
check them
heard of
out
them.
and use the promo code Northern10, you'll get 10% off your order.
Holy
Exactly.
that much?
And-
Okay.
Not to be confused with Sid Vicious, but this one's got the good version of My Way on it. Now I like Frank's version as well, but he
Frank
kind of crushes My Way on this one too. So
Show
It's
us the
good.
front cover of that, Joe, because I don't even know what that album looks like.
yeah, it's just a good old picture of the man himself, and it's kind of gold embossed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it ever came on black. I have never seen it on black. I've only ever seen it, and it comes up from time to time. I don't think I have one at the store, but I have had one at the store. So yeah, if it's out there, again, it's got songs on it, but it's got intro to Jailhouse Rock, and it's got a little bit of talking, an intro to Teddy Bear, Vancouver press conference. So yeah, it's pretty good, and it's got.
It's
I
a neat
don't know
album.
what else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
definitely a neat
think-
album. Seeing once again, right? I mean, he only toured Canada once, I think. That's just a neat album.
That's
I'll
right.
have to keep an eye out
Look, it's even autographed. It's not.
for
It's
it.
autographed, but it's not. If the guy from Pawn Stars looked at it, I don't think he'd say that's live ink. So
Yeah, right. Exactly.
yeah.
Well, guys, that kind of wraps it up. We're getting to 2.5 hours, but that's okay. We'll do what we usually do. We'll go around the horn, and everyone can talk about what they've got coming up, anything that they've just done recently that they want to talk about, or whatever the hell they want to say. Since John is our guest, what's cooking, John?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing next. Well, tomorrow I'm going to the record store, so I'll probably do what's new at the record store. I always show what's new over there. I am planning. There's another local record store, really nice people that I've made friends with recently. They're over in Dunedin, Florida, D&J Records. So I'm going to do a video walk, just talking about their record store, shooting everything inside there. So I guess those are my two projects. And then I have to show off all this other stuff I told you I bought today that I shouldn't have, but I did, and it'll be all right. It'll be okay. So that's what I have. And then if anything else pops in my head, I film it and I go, kind of thing.
How
You never
since
have
you
to
men-
apologize to us for buying records.
Never.
Even sounds
Never.
silly coming out, but
Since you mentioned that shop is in Dunedin, how far is Dunedin from you?
so from here, about half an hour, maybe.
Do you
25.
do you get there often?
Yes. Yeah. So if
Well,
I
then-
came down here and we were going to hit 3 record stores, I could get you to 3 different record stores within half an hour.
Well, there's another reason I'm asking, because if you're close to Dunedin, you and I have to talk. I'm gonna have to get you to pick me up a Dunedin Blue Jays hat.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely hook that up.
That's our single A farm team. So
Oh, I can make a little trip and pick you up, whatever you want, whatever you're
you're the
looking
man.
for. Yeah, let me know.
Awesome. Cool. Joe, what's you're not gonna make a video, you're just gonna be here next Wednesday.
I am. You know what though?
Perfect.
And I've said it before. I just love doing this. I look so forward to this Wednesday night
Me
and
too.
the things we did on Sunday. Because I have good friends. I don't have a lot of good friends in town with me. My wife, obviously, and things like that, and I have some, but obviously none of them. Well, I shouldn't say obviously because you don't know I'm going to say it, but none of them are as passionate about the vinyl aspect and the music to a certain extent as you guys are in here. So I really, really do look forward to these and the other stuff that you and I do and the Canadian stuff. And it's just fun, and to talk to the people in the chat for as much as we get a chance to talk to them. I do pay attention to it, but I mean, there's obviously some people that we've had a chance to meet that have come on with us. Richard, I'm glad that John's come on. I'm glad Daryl has become a regular as well. There's the young man, Jack, the music guy. I think that maybe we should see if he wants to.
We should. Yes.
Come on one day
Yeah.
and get a little take on we got the old man, we'd have the young guy. But I really wanted to reiterate, not just to you guys, but to everybody that watches as well, and everybody that will watch later, not necessarily live, that I really love doing this. I know my musical tastes are somewhat run-of-the-mill standard, but it's the stuff that I love and I love to show. So I might not surprise you with, oh man, I don't know who that is. But hopefully I show you some stuff and we have a nice conversation. And like I said, this goes by too quickly. I could sit here for at least another 34 minutes and do this. So thank you for that, for having me on.
Always.
And I look forward to the Canadian one coming out because again, I think that turned out really well. Us talking about what we were talking about, and look forward to the next one as well. So
absolutely. So Jack, the music guy, if you're still watching, and if you want to join us one week as our guest, we would love to have you. Shoot me an email, northernrevolutions@gmail.com. We try to have a different guest different guest every week. We'd love to have you. I'm hoping the stars align that we have a first time guest next week, and it's a she this time.
A girl in the vinyl community.
I know, right? You could probably maybe guess who it is. She's expressed interest in joining us, and so
is she real? Is she a real girl?
Yeah, she's AI. That's okay.
So hopefully we can convince.
Yeah, that would be good if I
to join us next week. But Jack, please shoot me an email, and we can set something up. We'd love to have you on. Daryl, what's cooking up at Northern Vinyl Guy?
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get that. I've been talking about that Bruce Hornsby video that I'd like to make. I want to try to get that in the next couple days, just a review of their three albums that they did. So not his solo stuff, but when he was with the Range. So I'd like to try to get that out. And then I got an idea. I got to look more into it, but I want to make a video about uncommon words that are found in lyrics of songs. So just strange words that are found in the lyrics of a song. And so, I mean, but then again, I mean, what might be considered a weird word to me might not be so much to somebody else, but I'm trying to err on the side of obscure words that you probably don't use too often in common language. So probably a top 10 video. And, if anybody else has any words that they think are obscure or whatever they've heard in songs, and leave some comments. So I'm hoping to do a couple more videos by Sunday or Monday. And that's pretty much what I got on the go. I've got a parent-teacher interview session next week just because of the way that our school system works up here in the north. So I'm going to be a little bit busy, but I'm going to try to come up with a couple things by next week.
Nice.
Awesome. You could probably find 1,000 strange words in Dylan lyrics. So just go through your Bob Dylan collection, and there's going to be a ton of crap in there.
What is it, Rob? Bob Dylan is like listening to your ass being shredded by a cheese grater.
Sure, absolutely, I agree.
We're going to find one day. I'm going to find that one Dylan album that Rob can tolerate, because there's just going to be one Rob. We're going to find it. We're going to find it.
Maybe.
There's only one song term that I could think it was only ever in a lyric once, and that was with the little man with an erection on a horse. I think that's the only time that phrase was ever used.
Spirit of the West. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, you could do phrases too. So
that's a hell of a
deluge. Deluge comes up. Deluge in a paper cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's their names? Yep.
No, there's a bunch. So there's some Gord Downey ones too that I think he throws in there. So
British artists. Look for British artists.
yeah, that's a great idea. That'll be a good one. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I look forward to that one.
You,
what is
Rob?
your channel, Daryl? What's your channel?
Mine?
Yeah.
Northern Vinyl Guy.
Okay, I want to make sure I have it. Okay, cool. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead. Good.
It's all good. It's all good. Yes, Dave. It's like shitting razor blades. Yep, that's another analogy I've used to describe Dylan's voice. What have I got going on? Well, just this past Sunday, my video was the Japan vinyl tag, so that's up there, inspired by Tokyo Record Style. And then Sunday evening, we recorded episode 4 of Canadians Talking About Canadian Music, featuring Joe and Daryl and myself and Glenn Calloway and Curtis from Young LP Lovers and Peter from Music is a Journey. I think I got everybody, right? Oh, and Brian from Embryonic Robot. So there was, like 7 or 8 of us all together. And we chatted for an hour and 45 minutes just about not anything focused, just sort of Canadian music after the year 2000. So it was a fun chat. I'm just in the midst of editing, so that will be up on my channel on Sunday morning. Those are always fun for anyone that actually, gives a shit about Canadian music beyond us. I got to tell you, they're one of the lowest watched videos that we make, but arguably maybe the most fun. So, we're going to continue making them, even if 2 people watch them.
The next one, I say it at the end of the video as well. So spoiler alert, is the tribute to Anne Murray. All Anne Murray all the time.
Oh,
for 2 hours.
I'm
2
all over
hours
that.
worth of Anne Murray.
She's too heavy for me. I can't. That's the problem with her. It's just too heavy, too depressing. I can't do Anne Murray. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'll watch yours.
Yeah. So that's what's coming on Sunday. And I still have to do my video for the record show that Jeff from Speaker's Corner and I went to, but go check out the video on his channel. There's a couple handsome fellas on the thumbnail. One of them's wearing a hat like this. So, that's it. So thank you, John, for being our guest. It's always fun when you join us, man. I love it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Daryl, Joe, I look forward to doing this with you guys every single week. It's one of the highlights of the week. Thank you very much, both of you. And to everyone in the comments, thank you for spending tonight 2.5 hours with us rambling. We really appreciate you spend the time with us, and we love interacting with all of you. So thanks, everybody. Until next week, we'll see you then. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys, girls, everybody.